A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Face the camera, please. Hold it. Thanks. Look for it in the Morning Express. Casey, press photographer. Columbia brings you another adventure of Casey, press photographer. Tonight and every Saturday at this time, Columbia invites you to follow Casey on his exciting assignment and to meet the strangely assorted people who pass in swift-moving parade before the shutters of his camera. Tonight, The Clue in the Clouds. In the quiet evening air, there suddenly comes a whirring of wings. It's a helicopter, apparently out of control. Like a giant bird, it flaps crazily about for a few minutes and then heads out to sea. What is it?
Gee, it looks like a bird.
It's a helicopter.
It's a wild plane. It's out of control.
It may fall.
Better clear the street.
City Desk, Bert speaking.
Hey, Burke.
Who is this, Casey?
Yes, it's Casey. Listen, there's an airplane loose over the city, a helicopter. Yeah, it's out of control. Something has happened to the pilot. It's headed out to sea. The Coast Guard is trying to get the plane in the air to follow it now.
Oh, yeah? Where are you?
Well, I'm at the Blue Note.
I thought so. Now, listen, Casey, go home and sleep it off. I'll see you in the morning.
Now, listen, are you inferring
Yeah, you ought to know better than to phone me in that condition. Now, go home and go to bed.
Oh, stop it, Burke. I'm as sober as you are. I tell you, this is a story.
Okay, so it's a story. What do you want me to do? Stay up all night waiting for you to get it?
Oh, that's swell, Chief. I knew I could count on you. We're going down to the Coast Guard headquarters now and get all the dope we can. Maybe some pictures.
Who's with you?
And Williams.
All right, you crazy loon. But this had better be good. If that helicopter turns out to be a Halloween witch on a broom, you shot your last picture for me. You get that?
Get it? I know it by heart. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Helicopter.
But I'm telling you, Burke, it fell into the sea like a millstone and disappeared.
Well, Casey, if 4,000 other people hadn't seen it, I wouldn't believe it. Whose plane was it?
The police say it was John Hampton. He had the only helicopter around here.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Flew it in from his estate to the top of his office building every day.
Our pioneer air commuter.
And he's missing, huh?
Yep, he and Mrs. Hampton both.
Well, take that stuff you've got to a rewrite man. Have one of the boys fix up an obituary. We've lost one of our leading citizens in a plane accident. And that's that.
Now, listen, Burke.
Casey doesn't think it was an accident.
Oh, for Pete's sake. And why not?
Burke, I think that dive into the ocean was planned. There's something phony about this story, and I want to track it down.
All right. What do you want to do, go chasing geese again?
You better let him, Burke.
Someday, Casey, you'll go out and cover a story that I want covered. Now, go on. Get out of here.
Thanks, Burke. Burke, I'll tell you, I'll make a bet with you. If I'm right about this, the drinks are on you. And right now, I'm going over to John Hampton's offices to see what I can find out.
Oh, you better take Williams with you. She'll just sit around and sulk till you get back.
Oh, gee, Bo, thanks.
Okay, Burke, we're on our way. You're, Miss Gray, aren't you? Miss Matilda Gray?
Yes, I was Mr. Hampton's secretary.
Yes, what we want is material for a little story on Mr. Hampton. You think you can help us?
He was a wonderful man. Everybody admired and respected Mr. Hampton. I don't know what else I can say.
He owned this building, didn't he?
Yes, the Hampton Importing Company occupies the top 3 floors. He liked the idea of having his office here in the penthouse.
Mm-hmm. Is that the landing platform for his helicopter out there?
Yes, that's it.
You mind if I get a picture of it?
Not at all. Can you take it through the window?
Well, let's see. Yes, I think so. Yeah, good, thank you.
Now could we have an of you, Mr.
Of me?
Yes.
Why, I don't know. I don't look very...
Oh, you look swell. Look at this picture.
Well, that's Mr. Hampton's picture. No, I...
Paper, this is just for the record, you know. You, use picture of your paws, wouldn't you?
Yes. I guess so.
Okay, hold it. Thanks. Well, that's one you won't have to look for in the Express. Now, Miss Gray, what other interests did Mr. Hampton have?
Business interest?
Anything at all.
Well, he had a little commercial movie studio, the Aristocrat Film Company. But that's been closed up for 6 months.
Oh? Where's that?
At 292 Falmouth Street. They made shorts, commercial reels, and trailers. But it was only sort of hobby with Mr. Hampton. Never made any money.
Well, what do you know of Mr. Hampton's family and Mrs. Hampton?
She was alone when she married John, Mr. Hampton. She had no living relatives. And he just had an uncle, a Robert K. Hampton.
Oh, an uncle, eh? Where's he?
Well, he lived somewhere on an island in the Celebes Sea. Now held by the Japanese, I understand. He was a sort of black sheep. Mr. Hampton hadn't heard from him for many years. Assumed he was dead or a prisoner until...
Until?
Well, maybe I shouldn't tell you this. But shortly before his death, a letter came from Australia. I didn't open it, but when Mr. Hampton read it, he seemed terribly upset. Then he told me it was from his uncle.
Do you have that letter now?
No, it seems to have disappeared.
And this was just before his death.
Yes, he may have had it in his pocket.
Miss Gray, this uncle, was he by any chance mentioned in Mr. Hampton's will?
He gets everything. All his money, the business, the building, everything. Oh, Mr. Casey, this is all a terrible nightmare. I can't believe that he's gone. I don't know where to turn.
Oh, Miss Gray, it's all right. You mustn't break down. You need to rest a bit. Part of you knows you'll feel better.
I'm all right. I'm sorry. If you'd just excuse me for a moment, I'll be right back.
Well, certainly, Miss Gray. I'm sorry we upset you.
Thank you. I'll be all right.
Casey, you know something?
Huh? What?
A clue. She was in love with her boss.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Never mind. Just take a woman's word for it.
What's the matter, young woman?
Oh, nothing. That is, you gave me a start.
Why should I frighten you?
You look like...
And if I may ask, who are you? What are you doing here? I'm just a reporter. And who is this young lady?
I'm a reporter, too.
What are reporters doing here? If you'll pardon me, sir, who are you? My name is Robert K. Hampton. I'm John Hampton's uncle.
So you think this uncle had something to do with Hampton's death, huh?
Well, look, a guy named the Black Sheep Uncle as beneficiary in his will and suddenly gets a letter from him.
From all reports, he's very upset by it.
And the next day packs himself and his wife off in a plane for a double suicide.
Lieutenant Logan pronounced it an accident.
Yeah, well, it doesn't add up to me. This uncle ties in somehow. Come on, Ann, I gotta think. Let's get out in the air.
The nice smoke-laden air of the Blue Note, I have no doubt.
Hi, Ethelbert.
Hiya, Casey. Hiya, Miss Williams.
Hello, Ethelbert.
What do you have?
One beer.
Same as usual for me.
Okay, beer and the usual coming up.
Hey, what are you reading, Ethelbert?
A book on victory gardening, I guess. My sister Edna gave it to me.
Oh, your sister Edna likes to read.
Yeah, she does. She don't drink much.
What's the name of the book?
5 Little Peppers and How They Grew.
Listen, why don't you read something interesting?
Like that death plane story of yours in the Express?
Something.
I'm following that, too.
Good.
Here's your beer.
Well, what's your opinion?
Well, I think it was a sort of chameleon of errors. I think this guy was planning to run away with some dame.
So?
He gets the plane all heated up for it when a heavily veiled figure sneaks into the cockpit beside him and gives him the nod to get going. Then he finds out that it's his wife and not his lady friend under the heavy drapes and that she's crossed him up. And by that time, he's so disgusted he dumps the whole thing in the drink.
On what do you base these deductions, Ethelbert?
Yes, mastermind. Tell us.
Quote, he who tries to fool his wife ends up playing the fool himself. Unquote.
You better stick to your books, Ethelbert, and leave the amateur detecting to Casey.
Yeah, and you know, Ethelbert, I wouldn't waste my time on Five Little Peppers either. It's way over your head.
Well, to tell the truth, I'm having a tough time wading through it. You got any ideas?
Well, there's Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire.
They got that in a book already?
Sure.
Why, it just declined and fell last September.
Hey, look, Annie, you tell him. I'm going over and talk to Ernie.
Hiya, Casey.
Hi, Ernie.
Ooh, you look worried.
Yeah? Ernie, you got an old tune handy? Something for me to think by?
Sure.
That's good. Can't quite tag it, though.
Me and my shadow.
Oh, yeah, sure. Me and my shadow.
Yep. You know that other self always under your feet?
Other self, huh?
Yep. You got another self. Now, one Casey has to stay here and work on the express.
Yeah.
The other wants to fly away. Go deer hunting up in the woods somewhere.
Ernie, you got an uncle?
Sure, I got an uncle.
Well, look, if you knew he was coming to see you, would you want to fly away?
Well, I'd be tempted to.
Yeah, why?
Because it'd mean that he was bringing his 8 kids along to live off of me.
Yeah, but the thought wouldn't make you want to kill yourself, would it?
No. Casey, why you gotta be so dramatic? Of course not.
Tell me, Ernie, what makes guys want to get away?
Oh, a name, usually. But I see them fly away from one and go right to another, leaving all their worldly goods behind them.
That's kind of costly, isn't it?
Yeah. Dames are costly. Now, if it was me now, I'd try to get the dame to fly away and leave my worldly goods to me.
Yeah. What?
I say it'd pay a fella better if he could get the dame to fly away and leave the worldly goods to him.
Ernie, I think you got something there. Yeah, thanks.
Five Little Peppers and how they grew has got me puzzled. I'm in the 4th chapter already, and they ain't even started to spade the ground up.
Hey, come on, Ann. I suddenly got a hunch.
Hey, where are we going?
Home. But tomorrow, we're going back and have another look at Uncle Robert K. Hampton.
You may come in now.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Robert K. Hampton. Miss Williams, Mr. Casey.
Yes, we've met before, briefly.
How do you do? Well, this is the young lady who was so startled yesterday when she first saw me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hampton. It was just that you looked so much
I know. You were struck by my resemblance to my nephew.
Yes.
Well, I don't blame you. You know, I never realized how much he'd got to look like me until I arrived and saw his picture here.
Yes, it is a striking resemblance, sir. Your hair is gray instead of brown.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, he had a mustache.
Yeah, but anyone would take you for brothers otherwise.
I think they're quite different.
Well, after all, there were only 7 years difference in our ages. I was just a kid when my brother's son, John, was born.
Yeah, we were very sorry about what happened to your nephew, Mr. Hampton. These things are always kind of tough to take.
Yes, they are. But, of course, it wasn't entirely unexpected. You know, I thought John would probably come to some violent end. Why, even as a kid, he was always keyed up. Couldn't relax. He should have taken things easier. Now look at me. I spent my youth bumming around the world. Never made much, but I had fun and got along. Then I found a spot where life was pleasant, and I settled down.
Where was that?
Shurang Island, near Borneo. Paradise. Simply paradise. That is, until the Japs came along. Then I somehow managed to get out. Just by the skin of my teeth, too.
Exciting.
Yes. Now, well, here I am. You see, everything worked out pretty well.
Yes, thanks to John Hampton, who spent his whole life...
You were saying?
I'm sorry, Mr. Hampton.
Do you mind if I take some pictures, Mr. Hampton? My paper wants to run a feature on you and your nephew. You know, your vastly different lives and activities, you know, the
The Hampton who traveled the earth and the Hampton who stayed at home.
That's rather a good idea, Mr. Casey. Where would you like me to? Beside this picture of John?
No.
Great.
Sorry.
Yes, I would if you don't mind. Let's try behind the desk there.
All right. How's this?
You'll pardon me, Mr. Hampton, but your hair's a little mussed. You know, with such striking gray hair as you have, you ought to have it looking its best.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll...
No, don't move. Miss Williams will arrange it.
Oh, all right.
Have you got a comb?
There's one right in my bag. Now, just a second. There you are.
Thank you.
Fine, that's it. Now, Mr. Hampton, hold it.
Want another?
I'm sure that one picture should be enough.
Miss Gray, if you please.
Well, we'll take one more. Just one more for good luck. Now, hold that just as you are, right there. Thank you.
Oh, but I'm afraid I'm in that one, too. Your camera was pointed right at me.
Well, we'll see when they're developed. Now, thank you both very much.
Thank you. You know, Mr. Casey, I'm somewhat of a camera fan myself.
Oh, that's so?
Yes, taken pictures all my life. I have some beautiful shots of Shirang Island. I was wondering if perhaps you couldn't print them along with the feature on my nephew and me. Not that I would want to monopolize the story, of course, no. But I only thought it might set off the differences in us. More dramatically. You know, give it a little added color.
Yeah, sure, that might be an angle. Let's see the pictures.
Yes, well, I have a few small ones in my wallet here. The Japs got most of my stuff, of course.
Oh, yes, I can imagine.
Let me see now. Here's a nice shot. Mount Tonamau.
Hey, look at this, Anne.
Beautiful.
And this is a view of my backyard, so to speak, looking north.
Is that you in the hammock?
Yes, that's me. I used the self-timer. Set it and then ran and got into the picture. Used a flexo camera with f3.5 lens at 1/20th of a second.
Oh, it's not bad. What's this one?
That's me again. Same trick. That was taken from the front porch.
Looking south?
Yes.
That's lovely country. Looks almost like a stage setting.
I think perhaps we're boring these people, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, I'm afraid we are.
No, really, not at all. I'd like to use these pictures. They're exceptional shots.
And pictures always dress up a feature.
Well, all right. But you will be careful to return them to me, won't you? They're the only prints I have, and I treasure them beyond words.
Don't worry, I'll treat them with kid gloves.
Thank you, Mr. Casey.
Well, that's all right. Now, I think we better be pushing off. Time and deadlines wait for no man.
And no woman either. We're happy to meet you, Mr. Hampton, and we hope that you like it here.
I think I shall. Take good care of the pictures.
Right. Look for him in the Morning Express.
Fine, thank you.
Goodbye. I don't like that young man. He's too clever.
Now, darling, take it easy. After all, he's only a newspaper photographer.
Are you sure this article on you is a good idea?
Of course. We'll need it. Why do you think I went to all that work to get those pictures? The public must be convinced, too. Now, don't worry, my dear. There'll be no slip-up.
There better hadn't be. Not after 11 years of planning and waiting.
Now that those people have the pictures, I'll set fire to the evidence.
You mean burn the negatives?
There are little fires and big fires.
Oh. You mean...
Yes. Tomorrow night, a nice big fire.
Let's see that negative, eh?
Here you are. Yes, sir. That I call a nice layout.
Yeah. Pictures look pretty good, huh?
My article's all right, too.
You know, someday I must teach you how to read.
Yeah. Say, these of Churang Island came out really bright and clear, didn't they? Hey, Ann, look at this.
What?
You notice anything strange about those two shots taken in Hampton's front and backyard?
No.
Well, I do. Look at this bank of clouds here. It looks sort of like a face, doesn't it?
Oh, sure. It looks like my Aunt Sophie.
Now, quit clowning. Look at it close.
I'm looking.
Well, now, that's supposed to be a view looking north.
That's right.
Well, here's exactly the same formation in the view looking south.
Well, that's queer.
Queer. It's a physical impossibility. There haven't been two cloud formations exactly alike since the first day of creation.
Well,
Then these scenes were fake.
Yeah, they were beautifully fake. You know, I thought Hampton froze a little when you made that crack.
Which crack?
About those pictures looking almost like a stage setting. No, Annie, Hampton gave us these pictures for the paper for a reason. He wants everyone to see them. He wants everyone to think that he has lived all these years miles away from here, and that he arrived here just in time to have a pot of gold fall into his lap.
Oh, that's a little too neat, isn't it?
Yeah, these pictures are all he's got to prove he wasn't here all the time.
Well, if he was here, how do we know he didn't murder John Hampton? He had the motive, all right. The will gives him everything.
Yeah, and right under John Hampton's feet. Hey, who said something like that? Ernie. That's right, me and my shadow. Annie, I think I got it. Quick, let me look at your comb.
Well, sure, Casey. But what on earth's in there?
Hey, wait a minute. Here, look at this. A hair. A lone gray hair. I gotta take this down to Logan and have him run some tests on it. I'll see you back here in about an hour.
Well, here are your pictures of Hampton, the ones we didn't print.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to check on them. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Look, Bert. This one of Hampton with Miss Gray in the background. You see this?
Yeah. And what a sugar-coated look she's got on her portrait.
Hey, let me see.
Don't she look like a mother whose son has just been made president of his class or something?
She in love with this guy?
Of course not.
You sure, Ann?
Well, she just met him.
Uh-huh. You swore she was in love with her boss.
That's right, and a woman like that couldn't be in love with two men.
Why not?
Because she's the perfect one-man-woman type.
Uh-huh. That's all I wanted to hear. I got a theory on this case, and this just about puts a pin on it. Come on.
Hey, where are we going?
We got a little job of breaking and entering to do. We're going to crash the deserted studio of the Aristocrat Film Company. I think I just about got it.
Isn't this a tiny little bit illegal?
I can fix that with Logan. He and I are just like that. There we are. Come on, we got to work fast.
Oh, spooky, isn't it?
Where did I light a match? See any light switches around here?
Wait a minute. Here's one.
That's better. Oh, so this is the Aristocrat Movie Studio, huh?
And a fine place to bring a young girl in the dead of night.
Annie, you see those crates over there?
Yeah.
I'll bet you 10 to 1 they're full of prop palms, grass mats, and tropical foliage. Let's see.
All right. Mr. Casey, your intuition is appalling. I'm glad I didn't cover that bit.
Uh-huh. Artificial flowers, trees, rocks, leaves, everything you need to build up a nice little South Sea Island setting right here.
Uh-huh. You mean Hampton could have sneaked in here alone, arranged a beautiful little tropic setting, and taken pictures all over the place?
Not only could have, he did, with a self-timer. And by changing the bushes and foliage around, he got the so-called view from his front porch and the one from his back porch.
Well, where's the sky with a funny cloud formation?
It's hanging right over your head. Look up.
All those big hanging things?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those. Those are backgrounds, you see, held up there by these ropes tied right here.
Oh, which, these?
Hey, look out! You want to kill us both? You pull that knot and all those heavy drops would crash down on our heads.
Oh, sorry. I only thought you might want to get them down to see if you could find the one with the cloud.
Yeah, but we'll have to snub the rope around this peg and have to drop down gradually. Those things are heavy.
Put your hands up, Casey.
Hampton.
He's got a gun.
You too, Miss Williams.
Oh, yes, sir.
You seem surprised to see me, Mr. Casey. Why? You forget that I own this studio now? It's rather I who should be surprised. What are you doing here?
We're looking for Churang Island. And you?
I came to burn this place down. For a reason that you may have already surmised.
Yeah. You didn't want anyone to find out where you made those phony pictures, did you?
No, and I don't want you to tell them. And you won't if you and your charming lady friend should get trapped here and cremated.
There's rather an ugly name for that. Murder.
A murder is not a murder until it's proven so. But before I kill you, I want you to tell me something.
Yes, I expected that. Most murderers are very cautious to know where they slipped up. All right, I'll tell you, Mr. John Hampton.
Oh. You guessed that, too.
Of course. You're not Robert K. Hampton. There never was any Robert K. Hampton. You never fled from the Japs on Churang Island. You picked that place because it would be impossible to check your story. This whole thing was arranged between you and Miss Matilda Gray. You planned this for years and been in love with her for years.
Go on.
You drew your will to a fictitious uncle and probably faked up enough credentials so that you could appear to be that uncle.
And then when the time came, all you had to do was drug your wife, put her in a helicopter.
There was just enough fuel to get over the ocean and set the controls and let her go.
Don't you think the plan was clever?
Fiendishly clever. And it was clever of you to spend 10 years working out your disguise. Most criminals try to change their identity by putting on a disguise. You achieved a change by taking one off. One you'd worn for 10 years. You shaved your mustache, bleached the dye out of your hair, and then came down here and took a few pictures of yourself in a tropical setting. Then, the very next day, you turned up as the long-lost uncle, inheriting all your own money and in a position to marry Miss Matilda Gray.
I fooled everyone but you, Mr. Casey. Tell me, why did you suspect me?
Well, being a photographer, maybe I looked too closely at your pictures. And you made the mistake of using the same sky in all of them.
Oh. Clever of you to notice it.
Oh, you slipped up on one other little thing, too. Your hair. Remember when I combed it for you, Miss Hampton?
Yes, under the police microscope, a strand of your hair still showed traces of brown dye.
It's those little things, Mr. Hampton.
Perhaps. And then, of course, you should never have let me get a picture of Matilda Gray off guard. For although she treated you badly and seemed to hate you, her love showed up in the face as plainly as though it were written there.
Very interesting.
And as Anne told me, a woman like Matilda Gray couldn't love two men. It turned out she didn't. Both men were you.
Quite right. Now, before you have a chance to turn this story over to the police, I'm afraid I shall have to shoot you both.
I wonder if you'd mind shooting me first. The sight of blood, you know.
You can't afford to joke, Miss Williams.
Oh, no. I don't want to be too near. May I stand over there by those ropes?
Wherever you wish.
Thank you.
Good girl, Annie. Good girl. Boy, that dude is... Okay, I got his gun.
Wow, that drops your beat.
Is he breathing?
Yeah. But he won't know it for an hour or so. Gee, kid, nice going.
Well, darling, you told me not to pull that knot and...
Annie, this was an inspiration. I could just about kiss you.
Oh, so I've got to save your life to deserve one stingy little kiss.
Well, boys and girls, day of days. The drinks are on first.
Now, wait a minute, Casey. My bet was with you. You can't do this to me.
Can't I, though? Hi, Ethelbert.
Hi, Casey, Miss Williams. Well, Mr. Burke, this is a surprise.
Yes, well,
Burke's buying the drinks, Ethelbert.
Wow, what'll it be?
Hello, Ethelbert.
Oh, hello, Grace. What'll it be, Miss Williams?
Oh, double martini.
A double?
2 olives.
And the usual for me. A double.
Now, wait a minute, Casey.
And a double scotch for Ernie at the piano, too.
Hey, go easy, Casey.
One for his shadow, yeah. And one for you, Ethelbert, and a double for Grace.
Hey, Casey.
And see what the boys in the back room will have, too.
And what would you like, Mr. Burke?
Oh, please, Ethelbert. How much is sarsaparilla?
Well, as Carrie Nation once said, quote, he who partakes only of nature's liquor has the pleasure of remaining sober and paying the checks, unquote.
You've been listening to Casey, Press Photographer, played by Stotts Cotsworth, a new series of adventure programs based on the fictional character created by George Harmon Cox. Casey, Press Photographer is directed by Albert Ward and produced for Columbia by John Deep. Tonight's story was written by Charles Holden. Join us again next week at the same time for another swift-moving story of Casey, Press Photographer. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This I believe. Alan Price Jones is the editor of the London Times Literary Supplement. He is himself a writer and has published several volumes of poetry and prose, including a life of Beethoven. He has a particular knowledge and affection for France, the native country of his wife, and has translated many French literary works. Due to his wide cultural knowledge, he is a regular broadcaster on BBC programs dealing with the arts. Here now is Alan Price Jones.
This series is called This I Believe. But I'm not sure I myself can go much beyond This I Generally Think. For I'm one of those people afflicted with a rebellious curiosity and an almost fatal gift for seeing both sides of a question. I've tried to turn these handicaps, for in every field they do handicap belief, into virtues, by telling myself that one only learns anything about life from an endless process of dialogue, dialogues with other people and dialogues with oneself. But to that there is one hitch. Dialogues ought to have a general sense of direction. If only I could feel, as many writers do, that writing, just writing, were an end in itself, I should be perfectly content. I should write as well as I could, enjoy myself as much as possible, and wait for death in the happy certainty of extinction. The trouble is that most of the time I don't feel that at all. An art, any art, writing for example, without dedication, seems to be not worth having. But dedication to what? I suppose the answer must be to a consistent idea of the world's purpose. I like to think of my own life, and everybody else's, as itself an art, with its varieties of colour and tempo, its gifts and pleasures, its disappointments and hopes, all to some extent under control. I like to imagine myself perfecting that control all the time, so as at last not to waste a single heartbeat. And if I get what I want, I shall in the end have built a small castle of civilization, so to speak, and held it successfully against the enemies who besiege all of us night and day. But small castles aren't much good unless they are part of a general defensive system. And so I believe, and believe very strongly, that the civilized part of mankind ought to be guarding and extending its positions consciously and all the time. But even that isn't enough, because of the horrid uncertainty about what happens when we die. Suppose we even accept the possibility of continuing after that in some form. Then everything we do at this very moment affects us forever, and the art of living becomes, in the most literal sense, infinitely more complicated. And what does one do about that? Does one assume that truth is a little bit different for everybody, or that everybody ought to reach the same conclusions, more or less? I generally think, for as I've said, I find it hard to assert I always believe, that the Christian tradition, as it has been defined by successive centuries, lies as near truth as we shall get in this world. It gives full scope for dialogue, it gives a meaning to writing and all the other arts, it enables the human race to participate in a coherent act of creation. And I like the Christian sense that we are still only on the threshold of history. At any rate, I like it better than the alternative notion, that our one function is to get and spend and make a few patterns in the sand until such time as the scientists have at last learned enough to blow us all sky high.
That was Alan Price Jones, a British writer, who is the editor of the London Times Literary Supplement.
Crime does not pay. My advice to you, Mrs. Forster, is talk.
Not me. Nobody makes me talk.
You're going before the grand jury in 3 days. You'll have to talk. If you don't admit what we know you know, Mrs. Forster, you'll be indicted for perjury.
So what? You think I care? Will you support me? Will your grand jury pass the hat or something? They'd rather look at my legs. They'd pay for that all right if I was still in show business. And get this, you great, big, legal hotshot. My husband is worth more to me dead than alive.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay,
based on a famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear Triggerman's Moll, starring Nancy Kelly. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Nancy Kelly as Liza Foster in Triggerman's Moll. There's a big business in America called simply organized crime. Its tentacles spread into many parts of American life, and when one is cut off, others seem to grow in its place. This is the surface pattern. But beneath the surface, this kind of crime is as complex and highly organized as any huge legitimate corporation. There's a board of directors. There are contact men and salesmen. There are distributors and collectors. And when the collectors fail, there are agencies whose sole duty it is to bring the delinquent account to organized crime's own particular brand of bankruptcy.
That's him, Tootsie, that's him.
Croker, can't you whisper?
Not since I took a slug in my windpipe. You see him? Just passed under that lamppost.
Okay, I got him. Beat it.
You don't have to tell me, Tootsie. You don't have to tell me.
Sorry, Allie, it didn't pay off.
About due. The car is gray. Spotlight on the driver's side. They'll take the corner pretty fast.
Ready, Swifty?
I'm in first. All I gotta do is let out the clutch.
Watch it, Tootsie. It's him, Tootsie.
Heard you the first time, Croker. Okay, Swifty. Hey, I'd like to hear the radio.
More coffee, Charlie?
Oh, thanks, no, Liza. Makes me nervous. Can't do my best work.
Andy, dear?
Yeah, a little.
Bank killing last
Hey, quiet. I want to hear this fellow.
And the rapid succession of killings in recent weeks points to a rising crime wave in this city. Why hasn't the city administration done something? In the last case, the machine gunning of Casey Carter's automobile on Prince Street in broad daylight, only a miracle saved passers-by from injury and death. When will something be done?
I thought he had something.
Oh, do they ever?
Just talk. Well, Tootsie, my boy?
Why do you always call him Tootsie? His name is Andrew Foster.
It's just a nickname, Liza. Like mine, the Bug.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Do men ever grow up?
Only when it's time to go to the office, darling, which is right now. Where's my briefcase, dear?
No, on the hall table with your hat. Home early?
Well, I don't know.
Charlie, make him leave the office early tonight. I want to see that picture down the street.
Liza, your word is our command. Mr. Foster, you are leaving early tonight. And thanks for the breakfast, Liza. Wish I were lucky enough to be married.
Good morning, Mr. Foster.
Morning, Daisy.
Mr. Morgan.
Morning, Daisy. Any mail, Daisy?
It's on your desk, Mr. Foster. There's a special memo for you right on top, sir.
Oh, thanks. See you later, Charlie. Right. Lunch, maybe, if you're not too busy? Maybe so. Let's see. Well.
Yes, Mr. Foster?
Daisy, did you type this memo I have for Mr. Ennis?
Yes, sir. About the matter you're to look into at 419 Oleander Place.
Yeah, that's the one. Who's the commission agent on the deal?
Mr. Crockett Thompson, I believe, sir.
Thank you, Daisy. Oh, Daisy, if my wife calls while I'm out, tell her I expect to be finished early so she can look for me around 4:30 this afternoon.
Hey, Tootsie, what you using today?
My Luger, why?
I was hoping it was going to be your rifle. Boy, you're sweet with a rifle. None better.
Thank you, Swifty. I like those jobs myself, especially that last one with the telescopic sight.
Start your motor, Swifty.
Right. Is that him with Croker?
That's him. Look at him smile.
Yeah. Not a worry in the world.
Not in a minute he won't have. Unlock your door for Croker.
Yep. What you waiting for, Tootsie?
I don't waste ammunition.
So, like I was saying, there ain't a reason in the world why you should be sore, Jersey. Not a reason. Swifty, my pal. Hi, old-timer. Get in, Croker. Slam that door. Right there. I thought you'd never pull that trigger.
I did.
Where to, Tootsie?
Now, we'll drop Croker, and then you come on home for a drink. Eyes those legs. This is us, Swifty. Third floor front.
Oh, not a bad layout. Not bad at all.
Beauty of it is there's a fire stair built into the house. 2 exits. Get it?
Not gaudy, but neat.
Is that you, Andy?
Yes, dear. Swifty's with me.
You don't have to warn me, darling. Charlie and Elaine are inside.
Oh, that's nice.
Hi, Miss Foster.
Hello, Mr. Reynolds.
I heard about Charlie's girl. She everything they say she is?
You will see in a minute. Living room's this way.
Now, that's what I told
Andy's here and Mr. Reynolds.
Oh, hey, Tootsie and Swifty. Sorry I missed lunch, fellow. Hello, Elaine.
Poor working man. What do you keep, bankers hours?
Just about.
Oh, Elaine, this is Swifty Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, Miss Carteret.
Hello, Mr. Reynolds.
How are you, Miss Carteret?
Everything okay today downtown, Tootsie?
Right as rain.
How was the market? Not bad. I'd say bullish as far as we're concerned. Always is.
Things always go well when men enjoy their work.
I don't believe anybody enjoys work after a while.
Well, maybe a change of scene would do you some good.
I don't see what you two have to complain about. I see Charlie whenever he's free, but you two. Oh, gee whiz.
Sometimes a man thinks of retiring, you know.
Oh, you are tired, darling.
Maybe it's because I just don't see an end anywhere.
What do you mean, partner?
Nothing, I guess.
You must mean something. Yeah, something.
Why don't you let him be? He's tired.
I'm tired of a lot of things. Just, well, when things get routine, when it's too easy to do any kind of a job,
you begin to get a sort of a conscience. Is that it?
Conscience? Maybe so. Never quite thought of it like that before.
You better say that again, Swifty.
Well, I wouldn't have thought anything. Only the day after he said that about a conscience, it took him 2 shots to complete a deal. And that ain't like Tootsie.
No, it isn't. Maybe he doesn't like his work anymore.
Could be. All right, Swifty, you can go.
Charlie, the bug is outside. Tell him to wait a few minutes.
Yes, sir, I'll tell.
Well, Vic?
He's a good man, Jonesy.
Was a good man.
You seem pretty sure.
He's showing all the symptoms. After a while, none of them can take it.
What about his wife?
A smart babe. She don't have to know. And if she guesses, she'll keep her mouth shut. Besides, without a corpus delicti...
All right, I'll get Charlie.
Now, there's a good man.
Come in, Charlie.
Right.
Well, Vic, Jonesy.
Yeah.
Soon? In cases like this, the sooner the better. I'm his best friend.
You know the rules. Who else?
Where?
You pick it.
Disposal?
Call Daisy. Ask her for the disposal squad.
All right.
When?
Tomorrow morning. After breakfast.
Elaine called me yesterday, Andy. Did I tell you?
No. Anything special?
Well, she wants us to meet her and Charlie for dinner tonight.
Well, if I can.
Oh, you're not going out of town again.
I had a note from Vic yesterday late. He said I might have to.
Oh. Where's Charlie this morning?
I'm picking him up at Max's.
Oh, that's funny.
Why?
Well, he's always here.
Even Charlie likes to change the routine once in a while for luck.
I see. For luck.
Don't you believe him?
Charlie never needs luck.
Every man needs it sometimes. It's when his luck runs out. Well.
Andy, I'm worried about you. You've been so upset lately.
Me? Upset? Look at that hand. Steady as a rock. Let's see now. Briefcase, top coat, hat. Well,
Andy, kiss me, please.
Sure. How's that?
No, Andy. Like this.
Yeah. I would think he was going off to the moon, not just out of the office. Goodbye, darling.
Goodbye, darling.
Hello, Tootsie. Oh, good morning, Charlie. Where's Max? Stepped out for a few minutes. Don't move, Tootsie. It'll be quicker that way. Too bad you had to get a conscience. Too bad. Charlie, I think...
Franklin 25689.
Daisy, this is the bug. There's a situation at Max's place needs clearing up. Send a disposal squad over at once.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Figgerman's Mall. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Nancy Kelly as Liza Foster in Triggerman's Mall. Liza said goodbye to Tootsie that last morning without a second thought. When he failed to come home that night, she felt certain he'd been called away suddenly, and she'd hear from him in a day or so. A day went by, and another, and still another. Just silence. She ran into Charlie on the street the fourth day Tootsie was unheard from.
But don't you know, Charlie?
Tootsie didn't say a word.
That's so funny. I thought you, of all people...
Well, you know how it is in business.
Yes, I suppose I do.
Take it easy, kid. Tootsie's probably someplace where he can't get in touch with anybody. That's all.
May I speak with Daisy, please?
This is Daisy.
Oh, this is Mrs. Foster, Daisy.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Foster.
I wouldn't bother you at the office, but I haven't had any word of my husband for a week now. Do you know where he went?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Foster, but we have absolutely no information as to his present whereabouts.
I see. I'm awfully glad you came over, Elaine. It's dull here, alone. How's Charlie?
Fresh and smooth as ever.
You know, he hasn't been here in 2 weeks. Not since the morning before Tootsie went away.
He's been pretty busy.
Now, it's funny, in a way. For weeks, that man of yours dropped in here every morning to go downtown with Tootsie, and the first morning he doesn't show up is the day Tootsie goes away and doesn't come back.
Aren't you adding 2 and 2, getting 5, Liza?
Maybe not. I'd like to see Charlie. Why don't you both come over some evening? We'll have some fun.
Three's a crowd, Liza, dear.
Well, tell Charlie to bring a friend for me. I'm young, Elaine, and not too bad looking. I don't expect to spend my life just looking at these 4 walls, you know. Excuse me, dear.
Of course, darling.
Hello, Miss Foster.
Swifty, won't you come in?
Sorry, Miss Foster. No time just now. I have an envelope for you. Tootsie's okay. You'll hear from
But
him.
Swifty...
So long, Miss Foster. I'll be seeing.
Goodbye, Swifty. An envelope.
Well, you won't learn anything from the outside of it.
Oh, no, I suppose not.
Long green, isn't it?
A pretty picture. It's a nice round number, too.
$100. From Tootsie, do you think?
You heard what Swifty said. He didn't say the money came from Tootsie. Told Charlie a toad.
Let's see now. I got it. To the guy who gave his wife the happiest 2 years of her life by staying away from her.
Yeah, it's $10,000. 10 G's. That's 10 grand.
Hey, what's with you, honey? Money in the bank?
I'm figuring 100 weeks at 100 a week, 10,000 smackers. Any man worth that.
Hey, what started this?
My insurance policy. Every week I get $100 from Tootsie.
Hey, you know I almost forgot about that. Not bad, though, is it? All you gotta do is sit here quietly. It's worth 5 G's every year.
Tootsie was a good provider, but never that good. Well, Swifty isn't pretty, but I sure enjoy seeing
Liza, shut
him.
up. What's that racket out there? Liza, put our glasses away. Drop the ashtrays quickly. You've been here alone. Grab your hat, Elaine.
Elaine, you mink. You don't want the cops to get that to you. You know the way, Charlie.
Tootsie's Fire Tower, the second exit? You bet. Come on, Elaine.
You see, I never went through a raid before.
Just a minute.
Stop the stalling, sister, and open up. This is police, and we've got a warrant.
Don't you think you are being unreasonable, Mrs. Forster?
Not in the least.
We have every reason to believe that your husband was killed. And according to the rules, by the man who was his best friend. But you insist he's merely disappeared.
And that's all you know, too.
Voltaire, bring in your friend.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't be too sure about our not hooking you up to this operation, Mrs. Forster.
In here, you.
All right. Take it easy, will you?
Well, Mrs. Forster,
I never saw this man in my life before.
did you hear that, Swift?
Yeah, I heard. She's lying. Every week for 2 solid years, I brought her the insurance. $100 a week. 50 from Vic Ennis, 50 from Jonesy Johnson. 10 grand she's had, I told you.
You're a liar.
You heard her, Swifty?
Yeah, I hear. She's lying. I'm telling you the truth. You gotta believe me.
I believe you, but without corroboration, a jury won't.
Oh, I get it. That's why I'm here.
Exactly, Mrs. Forster.
Well, of course, I'm not familiar with such things, but isn't there a code that governs these matters, and doesn't that code provide definite penalties for informers?
Ready, Voltaire?
Yes, sir. Plugged in, threaded, and bolted.
Now then, Mrs. Forster.
Oh, it's so nice of you to provide movies, Mr. District Attorney, and right in your own office, too. A feature picture?
Yes, featuring you. All right, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
I want you to watch these pictures carefully, Mrs. Forster. Your friend, Swifty Reynolds, took
I
them.
told you. I never saw him before in my
While
life.
you and your husband and several others were vacationing on the beach at Miami. You see, there you are. You're charming in a bathing suit, Mrs. Forster.
That is not me. Just somebody you'd like a jury to think is.
And there's your husband. And there's a close-up of Vic Ennis lighting your cigarette. And, of course, you recognize Charlie and
I
Delaney.
never went to Miami. Never.
You seem to be having a fine time in Miami in those movies, Mrs. Forster.
I never saw any of those people, any of them. Do you get it?
All right, Sergeant. Yes? Well, all right, go to it. Sergeant, take this Jane back to her room. The boys have located Charlie and his mall over at a place called Max's. Let's go.
Give me another one, Ellie.
I'm loading as fast as I can.
Not fast enough. When I find a rat who tipped off the flat.
Charlie, stay away from the window. Charlie! I killed him. I killed him. I hurt you, Charlie. I hurt you.
quiet. This is what they want. This is why they put you in with me.
You told. You squealed on Charlie. They shot him in the belly.
Shut up, you idiot. It was Swifty's in.
I'll kill you. And you get my hands on you, I'll kill you.
Stay away from me now. Stay away from me.
Dying with a bullet in his guts, and you did it. You did it because you know he did what...
Elaine, let go. Let
go. With my bare hands. My hands. Go, my hands.
All right. And for 2 years, I kept my mouth shut. My man did 2 years, and I never bleeded once. But you dirty blonde, you have the gall.
All right, break it up, both of you. That's enough.
You were there. You killed my Charlie.
Come along, Mrs. Foster. The DA wants you.
My advice to you, Mrs. Foster, is talk.
Not me. Nobody makes me talk.
You're going before the grand jury in 3 days. You'll have to talk.
What for? I'm not afraid of that dirty blonde you pushed in with me, and I'm not afraid of you or any other district attorney.
If you don't admit what we know you know, Mrs. Foster, you'll be indicted for perjury.
So what? You think I care? Will you support me? Will your grand jury pass the hat or something? They'd rather look at my legs. They'd pay for that if I was still in show business. And get this, you great, big, legal hotshot. My husband is worth more to me dead than alive.
Eliza Foster, it is my duty as the judge in this court to sentence you for the crime of perjury of which you have been duly convicted. I am limited in this duty by what the penal code of this state provides. I wish I could send you away forever. You and all the people like you who are intelligent enough to know better, but who pander to and work with organized crime for nothing more than greed and money. However, under the law, I am limited as follows. 2.5 to 5 years in state prison and a fine of $10,000. If you are unable to pay that fine out of your funds, I direct the parole board to extend your term in prison at their discretion. All right, take her out.
Oh, no. Now it's your turn. But I'll get out. You can keep me there 10 years, but you'll not get 1 cent of my money. Not you, nor the DA, nor any of your fly cops. And when I get out...
Crime does not pay.
Nancy Kelly, who was starred as Liza Foster in Trigger Man's Moll, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Nancy Kelly.
Liza Foster seems like a strange and fictitious character, I know, but even so, she's a little frightening. And when you realize that such a person really lives, a woman who refused to identify the man who murdered her husband, it all becomes even more frightening. The counterparts of Liza, of Tootsie, of Charlie were real people, the kind of real people who live on and on through highly organized crime. But it must be remembered that organized crime obtains its foothold in any community largely through the indifference of decent citizens. And what costly indifference. Yes, costly in money and safety and even in the lives of people like you and like me. Believe me, there's much that you as good citizens can do to head off organized crime, to prevent people like these from riding roughshod through our community. It's a warning to decent citizens as well as to potential criminals when we tell you that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Nancy Kelly. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark D. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Curtis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
There is one essay from the 1950s for which we have been unable to find the audio. Albert Einstein. Einstein published his general theory of relativity in 1916. He won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921 and taught for many years at the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton. We asked our friend, correspondent for NPR Science Desk, Robert Krulwich, to read his essay aloud. The chance to be Einstein, he said? Yes, I'll do it.
The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious, the knowledge of the existence of something unfathomable to us, the manifestation of the most profound reason, coupled with the most brilliant beauty. I cannot imagine a God who rewards and punishes the objects of his creation, or who has a will of the kind that we experience in ourselves. I am satisfied with the mystery of life's eternity, and with the awareness of and glimpse into the marvelous construction of the existing world, together with the steadfast determination to comprehend a portion, be it ever so tiny, of the reason that manifests itself in nature. This is the basis of cosmic religiosity, and it appears to me that the most important function of art and science is to awaken this feeling among the receptive and keep it alive. I sense that it is not the state that has intrinsic value in the machinery of mankind, but rather the creative, feeling individual, the personality alone, that creates the noble and sublime. Man's ethical behavior should be effectively grounded on compassion, nurture, and social bonds. What is moral is not the divine, but rather a purely human matter, albeit the most important of all human matters. In the course of history, the ideals pertaining to human beings' behavior toward each other and pertaining to the preferred organization of their communities have been espoused and taught by enlightened individuals. These ideals and convictions, results of historical experience, empathy, and the need for beauty and harmony, have usually been willingly recognized by human beings, at least in theory. The highest principles for our aspirations and judgments are given to us Westerners in the Jewish Christian religious tradition. It is a very high goal, free and responsible development of the individual, so that he may place his powers freely and gladly in the service of all mankind. The pursuit of recognition for their own sake, an almost fanatical love of justice, and the quest for personal independence form the traditional themes of the Jewish people, of which I am a member. But if one holds these high principles clearly before one's eyes and compares them with the life and spirit of our times, then it is glaringly apparent that mankind finds itself at present in grave danger. I see the nature of the current crisis in the juxtaposition of the individual to society. The individual feels more than ever dependent on society, but he feels this dependence not in the positive sense, cradled, connected as part of an organic whole. He sees it as a threat to his natural rights and even his economic existence. His position in society, then, is such that that which drives his ego is encouraged and developed, and that which would drive him toward other men, a weak impulse to begin with, is left to atrophy. It is my belief that there is only one way to eliminate these evils, namely, the establishment of a planned economy coupled with an education geared toward social goals. Alongside the development of individual abilities, the education of the individual aspires to revive an ideal that is geared towards the service of our fellow man, and that needs to take the place of the glorification of power and outer success.
Robert Krulwich reading Albert Einstein's essay for This I Believe.
Sleeping on a sea is like sleeping on a cloud. The Sealy Mattress Company presents Calling All Detectives! A series of baffling thefts from a locked vault right under your very eyes. Could you solve them? That is the situation on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, Private Detective. In the famous story, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, what is the first name of Mr. Hyde? That is the Sealy Mystery Quiz question, now worth $1,220. If the person we telephone at the end of the program can answer a question based on tonight's transcribed story, he or she will earn a famous Sealy tuftless inner spring mattress. Plus, a chance to answer the Sealy mystery quiz questions. So pull up a chair and listen closely to Calling All Detectives. A private detective like me, Jerry Browning, gets all sorts of cases. Some are tough, and a few are so easy you don't see the evidence right underfoot. Keith Wickerson was 48 years old, gray at the temples, and expressed, Mr. Browning, Wickerson's jewelry salon is an institution. Both my employees and customers are beyond reproach. I nodded. Yeah? But just the same, somebody is robbing you blind. And if it isn't employees or customers, then it must be pixies. At the sound of the warning buzzer, the remaining customers began to drift out. I watched as clerks took trays of jewels from the display cases and carefully deposited the trays into shelves inside a huge vault. Finally, all the trays were inside the vault. Note, Mr. Browning, that the vault is now locked and the combination thrown. Only I know the combination, and even if someone else were to learn it, the burglar alarm would sound at any attempt to turn the lock. I made a few notes on a pad. Okay, so far. What next? Wickerson smiled grimly. Please observe. As each employee left the area where the safe stood, he passed between two tiny beams of light. I had that device installed when the theft began, Mr. Browning. If any person were carrying a diamond or a metal object in his pocket, an alarm would sound. Has an alarm sounded? No alarm had sounded, and I said so. Nevertheless, the chances are strong that tomorrow morning a diamond will be missing from the vault. He wasn't kidding. The next morning a diamond was missing. Now all I had to do was figure out how the thing was worked. At this point, the sponsor's first commercial is heard. Calling All Detectives is as different as it is successful. Here's a show that quadrupled its rating in 39 weeks, produced the greatest mail pull in the history of WGN, is the #1 program in its time slot against 17 other Chicago stations, and has one of the highest holding power records in radio today. I won't take any more of your time to repeat facts outlined in the brochure. Now, back to Jerry Browning. Despite elaborate precautions, diamonds and other gems were being stolen at regular intervals from a locked vault at a jewelry salon. The man from the crack-proof safe company was short, squat, and determined. Gents, nobody can pick this lock. I turned to Wickerson, the store owner. Can somebody possibly have learned the combination? Wickerson shook his head. The combination has been changed 3 times during the past month. The last time it wasn't even written down. I memorized it. Okay. Nobody picked the lock. The store was beginning to fill up as elegantly dressed women and a few men drifted in. Wickerson looked at them with a jaundiced eye. Is it possible, Mr. Browning, that one of my customers is responsible? I shook my head. Well, this is an inside job. The count on the stuff in your trays checks every evening. An idea struck me. That gimmick you bought, the device that checks for stones or metal in people's pockets. Maybe it isn't working. One of your employees lifts a stone from a tray just as it's being put away. How can we check that? Don't worry, we'll check it. That evening, as the routine of putting the trays into the vault was being repeated, I walked into the vault, too. I reached up on a shelf, took a diamond from one of the trays. I put it into an inside pocket under a couple of layers of cloth. Then I got it out of the vault. Okay, Mr. Wickerson, your gimmick works fine. Turn it off. Well, there's no sense in hanging around the store. Now, when you can't figure out how something is being done, maybe you can find out who is doing it. So for a week, I gave all of Wickerson's employees my 4-star special complete investigation. I learned that one man was living somewhat beyond his means, another was playing the horses in a modestly consistent sort of way, and a third, a young woman, had just bought a mink coat that she was careful not to wear to work. I kept on investigating and found that the man living beyond his means was getting supplementary income from a brother out west, that the horse player was $600 ahead for the season, and that the mink coat was dyed muskrat. Okay. I went back to Wickerson's store. That evening, I watched the, by now, familiar routine of putting the trays into the vault. One by one, impassive-faced clerks filed by me, deposited their wares on the shelf. I watched so carefully my eyes ached. Behind me, Wickersham said, "Nothing's been missing for several days, Mr. Browning. We're about due for another theft." I nodded without taking my eyes off the clerks. When the last one had finished, I started into the vault. I sheepishly gave Wickersham my keys, coins from my pocket, my tie clamp. The alarm bell stopped. Then I stepped into the vault, looked around. I had no idea of what I was looking for. I turned to Wickersham. "The floor of this vault is dusty. Don't you ever sweep it out?" "Certainly we do every morning after the stock is removed. John, sweep this floor." I questioned the porter. "John, did you sweep this morning?" "Well, usually I did." I bent down, ran my fingers over the floor. Then I straightened up. "You can go, John." "Mr. Wickersham, there will be a diamond missing tomorrow morning. And I know how the thing has worked. Now all we have to do is catch our crook." Well, there was a diamond missing the next morning. But I didn't do a thing about it. Instead, I resumed my all-day watching session. Except that I knew whom I was watching. A horse player who was ahead for the season, but that further reports had shown to have dropped all his winnings and many thousands more at roulette. He waited a full week before trying again. Then, one day at noontime, as the clerk stepped outside the door on his way to lunch, I stepped up to him. "You're under arrest." I had handcuffs on him so fast he didn't know what had happened. Back inside, I searched him and found a diamond in his pocket. This is how he fools your high-priced gimmick. He doesn't steal at night, he does it at lunchtime. Gets rid of it to a fence. "But there is no diamond missing from any of the trays, Mr. Browning." I grinned, took an envelope from my pocket, dumped a little dust on the desk. "It's a new twist on the old switch technique, Mr. Wickersham. He prepares a spun-glass imitation diamond, substitutes it for the one he plans to steal. The imitation looks good under the glaring light of your showcase, unless you watch, as I did, for imitations. Then, that evening, inside the vault, he takes the imitation jewel out, just as he flips the tray under the shelf. He drops the imitation, grinds it under his heel, and what have you got? Just a little dust on the floor. Well, we got a confession, of course, though we didn't need it, since the dust analyzed as glass particles, and we'd caught him with a real stone in his pocket. Like I said, sometimes the very toughest cases are the easiest, if you know enough to look at the evidence right under your own feet.
In a moment, we'll have the mystery quiz question. The sponsor's second commercial is heard at this point. Calling All Detectives, for the first time, cleverly combines two surefire forms of radio entertainment: the mystery story and the telephone quiz. Finally, we offer an open-end program with a plus value. Usually you drop in the commercials, and that's where sponsor identification ends. In Calling All Detectives, there's an opportunity for added local identification through ad-lib dialogue during the telephone quiz portion of the show. Well, time now for the Seeley Mystery Quiz, and that means cash prizes coming up if the right answers pay off. Let's see now. For our first call tonight, we'll go to the west side section and call the Kedzie Exchange. K-E-3-1-4, and a couple more. Now, if the listener we phone can answer the question about tonight's story, he or she will earn a Seeley Toughless Inner-Spring mattress, plus an opportunity to answer the Seeley Mystery Quiz question, now worth $1,220. They're still ringing. No answer yet. Maybe they're out shopping for a Seeley. Oh, hello. This is Larry Leroy of the Seeley Calling All Detectives radio program on WGN. May I have your name and address, please? Mrs. Joseph Turner, 3240 West Roosevelt Road. You say you've heard us, Mrs. Turner? Well, good. Your phone number is Kedzie31429. Thank you. Now, if you can answer my question about tonight's story, you'll earn a world-famous Seeley Toughless Inner-Spring mattress, plus an opportunity to answer the Seeley Mystery Quiz question, now worth $1,220 in cash. Are you ready? I'll try, she says. All right, Mrs. Turner. In tonight's story,
What was the name of the company that made Mr. Wickerson's vault? And try to give me the answer by the time I spell sleep. S-E-A-L-Y... what? Crack-Proof Safe Company. Right you are, and you win that Sealy mattress, and hold on now, you also get a crack at Sealy's giant jackpot, $1,220 in cash. Want to hang up now? She says no. Okay, madam, sit down, relax, and think hard for hard cash. Now, what was the first name of Mr. Hyde in the famous novel Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? 10 seconds to answer, ma'am, and I'll time you by spelling Sealy twice. S-E-A-L-Y... S-E-A... You say Mr. Hyde's first name was Edward. Well, don't hide that answer because it's as white as Sealy and you win $1,220 cash. What's it? It's a half year's pay. Wonderful. Now let's check your name and address again so our Sealy secretary can shoot that check to you fast. Mrs. Joseph Turner, 3240 West Roosevelt Road. Right? Right. And you were so right, you're richer tonight by $1,220. Sealy dollars, Mrs. Turner. You won that Sealy mattress, too, so now you can go to bed nights absolutely sure that sleeping on a Sealy is like sleeping on a cloud. Congratulations, ma'am. Pleasant dreams and happy bank account. Oh, is she excited. Well, friends, since Mrs. Turner won our Sealy Mystery Quiz, we'll start another question tomorrow night. If the person we telephone answers the question taken from tomorrow's Calling All Detective story, he or she will win a famous Sealy topless inner spring mattress and a chance to shoot for the new cash prize, which will start tomorrow at $20 and build $20 more every program, so somebody answers both questions and wins the Sealy mattress and the cash. Now get this advance tip. The new Sealy Mystery Quiz question, starting with tomorrow's program, will be, what was the name of the theater near which gangster John Dillinger was shot? Remember, the answer is worth $20 cash tomorrow night, and we add $20 more every night till someone collects. So to cash in, be sure to tune in, Calling All Detectives, a Jerry Jock feature transcribed with Paul Barnes in the role of Jerry Browning.
Murder at midnight.
This is the place for it. Deep down under the city, under the earth. The concrete cold and damp as the stone of a mausoleum. The question is, which one of them shall it be? You, sir? You with the gray hair and the briefcase. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Death.
Midnight, the witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in The Man Who Was Death. Now, Murder at Midnight. Tales of Mystery and Terror by Masters of the Macabre. Our story by Robert Newman is The Man Who Was Death. It's late afternoon in the studio of Jan Rolfe, the sculptor. The rays of the setting sun come through the smoke-filmed glass of the skylight at an angle, casting long, dark shadows on the dusty floor. His face intense, Rolfe stands before a more than life-size head of gray granite, cutting away some of the hard stone, then pausing to examine his work.
It's still not right. I still haven't got it. And I don't know where I've gone wrong. The eyes, they would be brooding and half-closed. But shouldn't they be all-seeing? Let's try it. Who's that? there?
It's Aline, Mr. All. Aline Moffat.
Aline? Oh, yes. Just a second. What is it, Aline?
I told you I wouldn't be able to get here until late, Mr. Rolfe, that I was going to be modeling for Clayton in the early afternoon, but you said it didn't matter.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
If you don't need me, don't feel like working.
No, it's all right. Maybe it would help if I worked on something else for a change. Come on in.
Something else? Oh, that head.
Is that the first time you've seen it?
Yes. You always kept it covered up before. It looks very powerful.
Powerful, eh? Go on over to it, closer. Tell me who you think it is.
All right. It's a man. Pretty big man.
Man. I knew it wasn't right. But if that's all you get out of it... Where's that mallet?
Mr. Ross, what are you going to do?
This, I'm going to smash it! Almost 6 months' work, but... There! You know what that was supposed to be? Death! Yes. For centuries, man has been haunted and obsessed by the fear of death. I was going to do something no artist has ever done before. Show mankind the face of death.
Mr. Rolfe, I don't think I feel like modeling this afternoon.
You're frightened. Why?
I don't know. The whole idea of...
You, too. What I wanted to show was the beauty, the peace that lies in death. Death's strength and inevitability and... Wait a minute.
I'll phone you tomorrow, Mr. Rolfe.
I said wait. It's beginning to come to me. What was wrong? To do a study, portray something, you've got to understand it, inside and out. You've got to know how your subject thinks, feels, project yourself into it. To do a study of death, I've got to know all those things about him. I've got to become death. And that means...
Mr. Rolfe, no, you can't.
But I can, Aline, I must. How can I understand death, become death, if I don't kill?
Miss Craig?
Yes, Nancy Craig.
I'm Jordan, Harold Jordan of Homicide. I imagine you know why I asked you to come down here to the morgue.
Well, they said it had something to do with my roommate, Aline Moffat. Is she...
If you think you can take it, we'd like you to make the identification.
I think I can.
All right, good girl. She's right here under the sheet. Ready?
Yes. Oh, Aline. How did it happen?
I'll cover her up. Well, we traced the laundry mark. We're pretty sure we knew who she was.
How did it happen?
She was found in the river. But she was dead before she went in, strangled.
Murdered? Oh, but why? By whom?
Well, we don't know. We thought you might help us with that, too. Tell us what you know about it.
There's not much to tell. She was a wonderful girl. Came from out of town, out west somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know it from the way she looks now, but she was beautiful. She used to do modeling.
Any boyfriends?
Oh, no one in particular. She went out with a lot of different men. Everyone liked her. That's why I can't understand.
Who did she model for?
A few photographers, but mostly painters and sculptors. Let me see, there was Jensen, Clayton, Rolfe. As a matter of fact, I think she was posing for both Clayton and Rolfe.
Better this time, much better. Things I can put into it that I never knew. Never felt before. Now, let's see. No! Still not right. Still something missing, and not just a shade of expression, but something basic, one of the keys to the whole concept. But what? Haven't I played Death's role, killed just as he does? Haven't I... Wait, that's it. Of course. Is that how death strikes? Without thought, on the spur of the moment? No. He picks and chooses. Decides just who shall die and who shall not. What's missing is the consciousness of power. The knowledge that there is no appeal from death. That he is the supreme authority. And that means that, yes, I must kill again. And this time... Who's that?
Police department. Can we come in and talk to you for a minute?
Why, yes, of course. Just a second. Police. They don't know anything. They can't know. But I'd better cover this up.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
I'm Jordan of Homicide. This is Nancy Craig. Sorry to bother you at this time of night.
No bother at all. Please come in.
Thank you.
I'm investigating the murder of Miss Craig's roommate, Eileen Moffat.
Murder?
You didn't know?
Why, no. I never read the papers. The last time I saw her, 2 or 3 days ago.
Well, it happened just 2 days ago. Now, we've been checking back. We have an idea that you may have been one of the last people to see her alive.
If there's anything I can do to help, anything at all.
Could you tell us what happened when you did see her last?
Of course. She was due here at 3 o'clock, but actually came at about 5.
Mm-hmm.
She said another artist had delayed her.
Clayton, that's right.
I had already started working on something else, and since she looked so tired, I suggested we call the whole thing off. She seemed pretty happy about it. Left, and I'm afraid that's all I know.
Was there anyone else here? Anyone that actually saw her leave?
I'm afraid not. You see, I'm the only tenant in the building who lives here, and I'm afraid everyone else had gone by then.
Well, that sounds pretty straight to me. I guess that's that. Thanks very much, Mr. Ross.
Not at all. Afraid I haven't been much help. But if you can think of anything I can do...
We'll keep in touch with you. And in the meantime, well, maybe you should start reading the papers, just every once in a while, huh?
Right. I hope you read them too, my friend. Especially tomorrow's papers. Because I have a feeling that there just might be something in them that will interest you. Night. And a fine small rain. Yes, this is how he would move. Walking slowly through the darkness. Searching. Weighing. Selecting his victim.
I beg your pardon,
what?
Sir. But could you tell me if that's the uptown subway over there?
Why, yes. I believe it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Subway. What better place to make my choice than there? Deep under the earth. The concrete cold and damp as the stone of a mausoleum. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yes, this is it. This is the place. The tunnel dark as a yawning grave. The platform edge like the verge of infinity. And this is how he must feel. Studying. Selecting. Which one of you shall it be? You, madam, with the worn coat and the draggled hat. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you know what's in my mind? Don't be afraid. It won't be you. You, young man, with the books and the glasses. No. Then what about... Yes. Down there at the end of the platform, my friend who suggested this. My prosperous-looking friend with the gray hair and the briefcase. Don't look up at the track so impatiently. A train is coming. But so am I. Good evening.
I beg your pardon, sir, but I'm afraid... Oh, I didn't recognize you at first. Why, you're the chap.
I directed you down here, yes. But I felt that you should know exactly who it was you spoke to. Allow me to introduce myself. I am death.
What? What do you mean? What are you doing to me? Let go! Let go!
Quietly,
The man who is death steps back from the edge of the platform as the train grinds to a stop. The woman screams. And somewhere in the distance, a clock strikes 12 for murder at midnight.
And now back to the story of
The Man Who Was Death.
It's late the next afternoon, and Jordan is alone in his bare cubbyhole in police headquarters when there is a knock on the door.
Come.
Hello, Mr. Jordan.
Oh, hello, Nancy.
You don't seem very happy to see me.
I am and I'm not. It's a nice change to have someone as pretty as you come down here. On the other hand...
You haven't gotten anywhere with Aline's murder.
Nah, no motive, no clue, no nothing. I'm afraid we're licked.
But you can't be. You can't give up.
I'm sorry, Nancy. I don't like it either, but, well, it happens sometimes.
But you can't let it happen. Not in this case.
Hey, you're pretty well wound up, aren't you? How about letting me take you out, buy you dinner?
No. Oh, I am upset, yes, but...
What's the matter?
Oh, maybe it's nerves. That trip down to the morgue, the whole atmosphere around the case, but... Would you think I was mad if I told you I felt that some horrible power was abroad? That Death himself was stalking through the city?
You and Mrs. Dolan.
Mrs. Dolan? Who's she?
Well, that accident in the subway last night, a guy who fell or jumped in front of a train. Didn't you read about it?
No.
Well, this Mrs. Dolan was one of the witnesses, and she swears that just before it happened, she went all goose pimples, felt as if death was breathing down the back of her neck, and that she was going to die.
It's true, Hal. I know it is. I mean, well, that's exactly how I felt. I can't remember just where or when, but sometime during these past few days, I felt that I was in the same room with death myself.
Well, like you said, it's probably nerves, strain you've been under. Just the same, it's kind of a funny coincidence. I think maybe I'll go see Mrs. Dolan, talk to her. Do you want to come?
I don't believe so, Hal. Somehow I feel we're awfully close to the answer. If I could just remember where and when it was I felt that way, that I was in death's presence. I think I'll go home.
Okay, Nancy. I'll call you there after I talk to Mrs. Dolan, and, well, maybe we'll find that we really had something.
Just a little more off the cheekbones. Get the gaunt feeling of a skull under the flesh. No, it's still not right. Still something missing. But what is it this time? Didn't I stalk and select my victim? Didn't he recognize me for what I was? Death himself. And didn't... Wait. Of course. It's never just the victim alone who knows, fears, and fights against death. It's all of society, medicine, science, the police. All of man's resources from time immemorial lined up against death. And he still triumphs over them. That is the secret and the measure of his omnipotence. That is the last missing element. And that means that I must kill yet again. And this time, not just the victim, but the whole world must know it and be powerless to stop me. This time. Who's that? Who's there?
Nancy Craig, Mr. Ross. I don't know if you remember me.
Nancy? Oh, yes, just a second.
I'm awfully sorry to be bothering you again.
That's perfectly all right. Isn't Mr. Jordan with you?
No, I came alone. Well, there was a little experiment I wanted to try.
Oh, please come in.
Thank you.
Just what was this experiment?
It was probably pretty silly, but I had to try it. Thinking back, I had a queer feeling that... What's that?
A bust. Something I'm working on. Something I hope will be my masterpiece. Do you like it?
I'm afraid No. Oh, it's awful. It's terrible. It was here that I felt it. Here in the studio, and you.
Yes, Nancy. It was I who killed a lean muppet. And also a gray-haired gentleman with a briefcase in the subway last night.
That piece in the paper, Mrs. Dolan.
Exactly. You see, that bust over there is a study of death. And to do a study, you must project yourself inside your subject. That meant I had to become death. Where are you going?
Oliver, you're mad.
No good, Nancy, no good. I locked the door when you came in.
Oh, but you can't. But you can't. Help! Help me! Help!
No good either. We're 5 stories up, and all the other tenants have gone. You came here at a very opportune time for me. I had just decided I needed one final victim. And I'm afraid that's going to be you.
I'll never forget it, Mr. Jordan. It was pretty late, about 12 o'clock, and it was raining. There were only a couple of people on the subway platform, 3 or 4, and I was standing by myself, not thinking about anything in particular, when suddenly this feeling came over me.
What kind of a feeling?
Oh, a feeling that this was the end. A feeling that death was standing there, right close behind me. I got so weak and shaky that I thought I was going to faint. I shut my eyes and leaned against one of the posts, and that's how it was that I didn't actually see the accident.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you turn around when you had that funny feeling? Did you notice whether there actually was anyone standing behind you?
I did. There was just a young fellow with glasses, and another man, kind of strange looking, now that I think of it.
Strange? How?
He was about 35 or 40, pretty big. I guess it was his hair. He wasn't wearing any hat, and, well, it was almost white and very long and bushy.
What? Did he have a thin face, gaunt, and deep-set eyes?
Why, yes, I think he did have. Do you know him?
I'm not sure. If I do, then I may know a lot of other things, too. Good Lord. Nancy.
What?
I've got to get out of here.
Just a second, young fellow. Where do you think you're going?
In there. No one's going to... Hanrahan.
Oh, there you are, Jordan. Where the blazes have you been?
What do you mean? What's going on?
A devil of a business. A lunatic in the top-floor studio there. He phoned headquarters, asked for you, said that he had a girl there that he was going to murder. Said that he wanted us to know, even though there was nothing we could do to stop him. We thought it was a gag at first.
Well, what are you doing about it?
Everything that can be done. I've got men all around the building. Up in the roof across the street, outside his door.
Can't you break down the door?
Sure, and finish her off quick. He said that if we tried it, he'd bash her brains out with that big hammer that he's working with.
But there must be something, a Tommy gun from the roof across the street.
He's got her right in front of him, so that if you got him, you'd get her too. I tell you, there's nothing, absolutely nothing anyone can do.
You're wrong, Hanrahan. There's just one person, one thing that can stop him.
What's that?
Death.
Oh. You're getting impatient, my dear.
Oh, why are you doing this? You know you can't get away with it.
Get away with it. You think I care? That it matters to me whether I live or die when I finish this. I'll never be able to surpass this, but neither will anyone else. I know now how death must feel. And I've caught it forever. For all men to see in stone.
Yes, friend Rolf. You have. And you've made me very proud.
What? Who's that?
You don't know? Even though I've been on your mind for months now? Even though you're just finishing my portrait?
You? Where are you?
Where would I be? Everywhere. Outside in the hall. Down in the street. Here in the studio with you.
Can you be seen? I must see you. I must.
Very well. Walk this way. Over towards the door.
A little further. Little further.
All right, here I am, Rolf. Maybe I don't look the way you thought I would.
Jordan.
Yes. Now drop that mallet and get your hands up.
It was you. And I thought...
Get him up, Rolf, I said.
Okay,
if that's the way you want it.
Help!
It's okay, baby. It's all over now. Have you loose in a minute?
Jordan, are you all right?
Yes, break the door down if you want to come in. I'm busy.
Oh, you got him. But how?
I talked to him through the vent pipe from up on the roof. I figured that if he was crazy enough to do all the things he did do, he might be crazy enough to believe death could pay him a visit. When I'd maneuvered him far enough away from Nancy here, I jumped through the skylight.
Hal, look.
Good Lord.
What is it?
That bust he was working on. He said it was a study of death. And in a way, I guess it is. Because it's a self-portrait.
Two men and a girl, staring down at the body of the dead sculptor, lying next to his weird masterpiece. But is it possible that there is still someone else in the studio, an unseen presence that has been there since the clock first struck 12 for murder at midnight? Remember to be with us again when death walks through the darkened streets while the clocks strike 12 for murder at midnight. The part of Jan Rolfe was played by Frank Behrens. With music by Charles Paul, Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
This I believe. Since coming to this country in 1906, Albert Gerard has taught French and comparative literature at over a dozen colleges and universities, written 20 books, several of which have been translated into German, French, Spanish, and Swedish, and he served as an Army intelligence officer in the First World War. His hobbies include international languages and city planning. Here are the beliefs that have guided Albert Gerard in this active and diversified career.
I was born in Paris, within a stone's throw of the Louvre. For nearly a decade, in my formative years, London became the second home of my spirit. I felt to the full the charm of the vast, chaotic metropolis, even the fog, which wrapped that great center of power and trade in dream and mystery. My father was a free-thinking Catholic, not an unusual combination in the land of Montaigne and Voltaire. My mother belonged to the pitiful remnant of the Gallican Church. My wife's family were of Scottish Covenanter descent. From these conflicting experiences, I have retained an odd blend of ideals, a deep love for long-rooted things, mellow books, old cities, ancient creeds, and also the sense that these were but toys and garments for the eternal and ever-new thoughts of living man. The Tory and the radical within me smile indulgently and fraternally at each other. The Dreyfus case taught me that the noblest tradition, one exclusive and infallible in its own conceit, could become a power of evil. I was bidden to rally to the nation, the army, the flag, but these were arrayed against justice, and justice had to prevail. My country, right or wrong, is the most insidious of blasphemies. It means thou shalt have no other God beside thy country, not even God. I found myself at home from the very first in the America of 1906, an America deeply attached to its brief past, but first of all to its principles which were shaping the future, an America which was admirably defined by David Starr Jordan as the land where hate dies away. The America I found in 1906 had erected a statue to William Lloyd Garrison with the inscription, "My country is the world, my countrymen are all mankind." I have remained an obstinate liberal in the strictest sense of the term, a lover of liberty, throughout the half-century of my American life. I have steadfastly combated the dogmatic, exclusive systems which seek to crush man's free spirit with their leaden feet. Partisanship and sectarianism I regard as wholly evil. They breed fanaticism and its blind, self-righteous cruelty. I call myself a rationalist within reason, and I strive to be a do-gooder with the critical spirit. Those who sneer at the desire to do right, those who believe that evil, force, pride, greed is a safer guide than good, those men may call themselves realists and win pitiful little victories, but in truth they are the militant atheists. They are hampering the slow ascent of mankind out of the primeval slime into a freer, gentler, more humane world. The key to the good is love, or in Christian terms, charity. My creed, against the materialist, the realist, and the doctrinaires, may be summed up in these words: faith is the hope that charity is not vain.
That was Albert Gayrard of Stanford, California. He is a prolific and distinguished author, teacher, and scholar.
All right, Patsy, out you go. This is it.
This is what, Nick?
A studio of magnificent pictures, of which Joseph Stone is the owner and director.
Well, there goes another illusion. I thought movie studios were all bright lights and glamour. This place looks like a stage set for the deserted village.
Well, it's been locked up for the past 10 years or so.
Oh.
That's funny. The gate's locked.
And that's our cue to turn around and go home again. You've got a nice, tasty jewel robbery waiting for you to solve back in town, and you should be working on that, instead of being way out here at the end of nowhere playing around a forgotten movie studio.
I guess I'll have to pick the lock.
Okay, if you must. Patient Patsy will bear with your little game.
This is no game, Patsy.
Why, what do you mean?
The house of Lulu Doré, the star of Stone's new picture, was broken into last night while she was at a dance. She was wearing her jewels, including the famous emeralds. Fortunately, though, nothing was stolen. There we are. All right, Patsy, go ahead.
It's funny there isn't a gatekeeper around.
It does, doesn't it? Well, I guess they haven't got a full staff for the studio, considering they moved back from Hollywood just to do this one show.
Why did they do that, Nick?
Oh, Doré had a run-of-the-pay contract for the show she's doing on Broadway and couldn't go west.
Hey there, where do you think you're going?
Oh, so there is a gateman. I'm looking for Mr. Stone's office.
Well, you can't see him.
I'm afraid you don't understand. I'm Nicholas Carter. Mr. Stone's expecting me.
I'm taking my orders from Lieutenant Riley of the Metropolitan Police. He says to admit no one.
Riley? What's he doing here?
Investigating a murder.
Murder? I thought you said robbery, Nick.
What murder?
Come on, get out of here. I got my orders.
Come on, Patsy. Let's find Riley or Joe Stone.
Hey! You can't do that. Come back here.
It's all right. I'll explain to the police. Hurry, Patsy. Hurry.
What is this, Nick?
So I plan to find out right now. Then I take it this fellow Boyd who's been killed is a fairly unimportant chap, eh, Mr. Stone?
Well, yes. He was just a darn good electrician.
Oh. Doesn't seem to be any connection between his murder and the attempted robbery of Miss Doré.
Well, no, there doesn't.
Is Lieutenant Riley here now?
Yes, he's over on stage 5. It's that building over there. Do you want me to come with you?
Yes, I wish you would, Mr. Stone. There may be points I'd like to ask you about.
I'd be glad to help, of course, if I can help.
There's one thing I don't understand, Mr. Stone. You say Boyd was shot in the back with a poisoned arrow from a blowgun. It's an odd weapon. Should be fairly easy to trace.
You don't have to trace it very far, Mr. Carter. The blowgun and the arrow were mine.
Yours?
Yes, you see, 11 years ago, I tried to do a picture about a voodoo witch doctor who used the blowgun in it. I don't suppose you remember the picture, Mr. Carter. It was called The Voodoo Curse.
Oh, yes, I do. You had a bit of trouble over it, I believe.
A bit of trouble. It practically drove me into bankruptcy. I'd imported a real voodoo witch doctor from Haiti, and he put a curse on the whole studio.
Oh, come now, Stone. You don't really believe that.
I don't know what I believe anymore. 11 years ago, we had fires, we had explosions, we had mysterious thefts, we had just about everything. It got so that everybody was scared to work here. I had to close the studio, and now we have a murder.
Why should the witch doctor put a hex on you?
Oh, I had an argument with him, for a salary of some sort. He swore he'd break me, and he almost did. Oh, here, this is stage 5 here.
Well, Nicholas Carter.
Hi, Riley.
And Patsy.
Hello.
Well, what might you be doing here?
He's come to help you, Lieutenant.
Well, that's very obliging of him, I'm sure. Say, was that a crack?
Why, of course not.
All right, let's get to work. Riley, where was the body found?
Right over there by that door, Nick, where the chalk marks are.
I wonder what he was doing way over here.
He was setting up the stage, as I told you.
But all his equipment's over there, clear across the set. Riley, how was he facing when he died?
He was lying on his face with his head towards that door, Nick.
Shot in the back, wasn't he?
Yep. We figured from the angle of the arrow that the blowgun fella must have been sitting up there on the catwalk when he killed him.
Mr. Stone, what's behind that door that Boyd was heading for?
Well, special electrical equipment, I believe, for special effects.
Would Boyd have known that?
Yes, of course. He worked on this stage years ago. He probably would have remembered.
That's it, then. He was going into that room to see if he could find some special equipment he needed. That accounts for his being way over here.
And you think there was something in there the killer didn't want him to see, Nick?
Right, Riley. Let's go in.
The door's locked, Nick.
Oh, Stone, give me your keys, will you?
Keys? I have no keys for these rooms.
Well, did Boyd have any?
Well, I believe he had borrowed the caretaker's set.
Riley, did you search the corpse?
Of course I did, Nick.
No keys?
No keys.
I can get a locksmith out from the village.
What? You have no duplicates?
Well, the place has been locked up so long. I never expected to come back here. Was trying to sell it, as a matter of fact.
Pick the lock, Nick. This seems to be your day for doing that.
Just what I'm going to do, Patsy.
I'll get you more light.
Oh, he doesn't need light. He can see in the dark, practically.
No, you don't have to see to pick a lock. There. And there. That's it.
Now we'll get a look at what your killer didn't want Boyd to see. Here's the light switch.
Oh, wait. Don't crowd in like that. Uh-huh. Look.
Footprints.
Footprints in the dust. Golly, Nick, there goes your theory. Boyd was here before he was killed and took out whatever it was he wanted. Well, it was a cute theory while it lasted.
Maybe it's still a cute theory, as you call it.
All we have to do now, Nick, is to measure the prints and see if they're Boyd's or not.
They're not.
How do you know?
Yeah, you haven't even seen the body.
These prints were made by leather-soled shoes. Right, Riley?
Well, yeah, you're right, but...
And Boyd was wearing rubber soles.
How do you know he was, Nick?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Stone. Don't all technicians on the sound stage wear rubber-soled shoes to kill any noise that the sound tracks might pick up?
Well, you're right, Carter, they do.
Now, those leather-soled prints mean that it wasn't Boyd, but our friend the murderer who used the keys he took from Boyd to get in here.
They lead to that crate. Let's see what's in it.
No, don't walk on the footprints. We need them as evidence. I'll wager you'll find the crate empty. The murderer didn't just walk over to it, look in, and walk out again. Oh, no. He took away everything he didn't want Boyd or anyone else to find.
You're right, Nick. The crate is empty.
Shall we search the room, Nick?
Well, what's the point in that? If there was anything here, it's gone by now. The murderer seen to that. I wonder what was in this crate. I wonder if...
Help!
Oh, Nick, the poor kid.
What is it, Carter?
Another murder.
Another... Good Lord.
Can you identify him, Stone?
Why, it's Bill Daly, our camera punk.
Camera punk? What's that?
Oh, it's studio slang for assistant to the cameraman.
You people are run too fast for me. Hey, what's up here?
See for yourself, Riley.
Well, good gosh, another murder. And it looks from his position as if he was just coming out of that door over there.
Well, that's funny. Both he and Boyd...
Any idea what he was doing around here, Stone?
Yes, I I sent him over here myself about an hour ago to look in that warehouse, see if there was any of that old photographic equipment we could remodel and use. Priorities, you know. Daly was very clever at that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a mean-looking knife he's got sticking in his throat, Nick.
Knife? Good Lord.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Stone?
That knife. It's from that same voodoo picture.
There seem to be a few too many of those old props hanging around. Are there any more?
Yes, there's a complete stock of weapons. Everything we used in that confounded picture.
The voodoo curse?
Yes.
I rather think I'd like to see that film, Stone. Is there a copy of it around here at a place?
Well, as much as we ever shot of it, it was never finished, you know.
Could you run it off for me?
Well, certainly I will. I'll go arrange it now.
Thanks.
Well, Nick, what do you think?
I'm not sure. Any opinions yourself?
Yes. My money's on Stone's doing it.
Stone? Why in the world would he do it?
Well, I don't know. I haven't figured out the reason for it yet. But he acts kind of funny. Nervous, sort of. And he keeps talking about the place maybe being haunted.
Oh, good heavens, Riley. Who wouldn't be nervous with all this murder going around? I know I am.
Well, take the weapons, Nick. They all belong to him.
But other people could have access to them, Riley. After all, Stone hasn't been here for over 10 years. And there's something more important you've overlooked, Riley.
What's that, Nick?
How did Stone manage to throw that knife at Daly while he was with us?
How do I know? We were all so busy looking at that storeroom on the set, he could have sneaked up. By golly, I'll bet that's how he did do it.
Oh, that's Stone beckoning to us. You want to go to see the movies, Riley?
I got better things to do, Nick. I'm going to search this joint.
How about you, Patsy?
Sure thing. But why do you want to see it?
I'm not sure, Patsy. But I've got sort of a hunch that the answer to all our questions lie hidden in that old picture.
Did all movie projectors make this racket 10 years ago?
Most of them, Patsy. Now listen.
You don't believe in our voodoo magic, eh? Well, if you've been here long enough to see some of the things I've seen.
Really, Ross, there's something uncanny about these natives. Call it coincidence if you like.
Who's the woman? Gosh, she's good looking.
That's Lula Dore, the star of the picture Stone's shooting here now.
Well, their voices sound funny and tinny.
Yeah, they certainly do.
It's easy enough to scoff when you've just come down from the States. But it is magic. There's no other way to explain some of the things that happen.
Magic? Mumbo-jumbo, you mean? You'll never convince me it's anything else. I suppose this is another of those wild dances.
Now, there's a really good voice. Who is he, Nick?
Now, don't tell me you don't remember him, Patsy. His name was Bart Tyson, great leading man, 10 years back.
Oh, I remember his name, of course.
This is rather better than most of the dances I've seen.
Patsy, I've heard that voice very recently.
The picture must be almost over now, Nick. Have you discovered anything?
I'm not sure yet.
Gosh, they had some pretty fancy photography in those days. I thought all that underwater swimming stuff was comparatively new.
Oh, no. Stone was the first person to use it.
Well, how did they do it? Look at that man swimming. It couldn't be faked.
It isn't. It was taken through some sort of a glass tank.
That native has been underwater for 20 minutes. No human can hold his breath that long.
That's what I've been telling you, Ross. They're magic, these natives. Magic.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
That voice. I've heard it somewhere before myself. I never heard Tyson act before. Hey, don't we see the ending?
No, that's all they made, Patsy. The picture wasn't finished.
Well, did you find out what you wanted to?
I'm not quite sure.
Well, Mr. Carter, did you like the picture?
Oh, very interesting, Stone.
Oh, that Lula Dore certainly is beautiful, isn't she, Mr. Stone? I've never seen her in pictures before. Has she done anything else?
No, nothing. Until now that she's starring in my new show on Broadway.
That's funny. I think with her looks and her voice, she'd be a sensation.
That's what I've always claimed, but, well, she got scared off after all these things happened during the filming of this one, and, well, she's stuck to Broadway ever since. And when Tyson, her leading man, was hurt, she rather felt...
Oh, I was wondering what happened to Tyson. From what I could gather from this show, he should have been at natural for talkies.
Oh, he was. But we had a bad explosion, and his whole face was terribly scarred. That's why we could never finish this picture. He never could act in pictures again.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, Stone, thanks for showing us the film. Mind if we scout around after Riley?
Oh, no, not at all. If you need me, I'll be on stage 3. We're going to start shooting soon.
Good.
Funny about Dore. She seems to be cropping up in our lives all over the place.
Yes, she does, doesn't she? Patsy, And you find a telephone, get hold of Scubby.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what you can about Bart Tyson and what's happened to him since the accident.
Okay, Nick. Where'd you be?
If I don't see you before, I'll meet you at Stone's office at noon.
Right.
Oh, Nick! Nick Carter!
Oh, Riley. Just looking for you. You found anything yet?
Yeah, we found all the weapons from that voodoo movie. All except the ones we'd already found, that is.
How'd you know you found them all?
Stone had an inventory. We checked on it.
Well, if your theory about Stone's correct, Riley, he could have falsified that inventory.
Well, why should he?
Well, perhaps he had a couple of weapons hidden somewhere and doesn't want us to know anything about them.
Nick, the more I think about it, the less I like that guy.
Find anything else?
No, not a blessed thing.
Searched the whole lot, have you?
All but stage 9 over there. That's locked up tighter than a drum. I can't pick locks the way the great Carter does.
Okay, I'll take care of those. Riley, why don't you go on down to stage 3? They're going to start shooting the picture pretty soon, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable if someone were on guard there. We've had enough murders for one day.
I suppose you think this is a gag, having us get all dressed up like merry villagers or something.
It's not a gag, Patsy. It's insurance.
What do you mean?
Just what I said. When we're dressed up in our regular clothes, everybody in the lot knows who we are. But anyone seeing us dressed up like this will think we're actors and never look at us twice.
I never thought I'd live to see the day when people wouldn't stare at Nick Carter, master detective, all dressed up in knee pants.
Quiet. Did you check with Scubby?
Yep. But just as Stone said, Tyson was hurt in that explosion and then just sort of vanished. Hasn't been heard of since.
That takes care of that. Well, here's stage 9. The only place that hasn't been searched either by Riley or me.
What do you expect to find?
I don't know.
Funny, this door isn't locked. Everything else on the lot has been.
Yes. Riley distinctly said it was locked when he tried it. Well, keep your eyes open. There may be a reason for it being open now.
Golly, it's dark inside here.
Here, take this flashlight.
Okay.
I've got another.
Hey, Nick, look. There's an old makeup table. I wonder what kind of makeup they used in those days.
Patsy, we haven't time to stop for you
Nick,
to look at make.
Look here. Well, this makeup isn't old at all.
What's that?
No, this is the very latest type of movie makeup, and it's all new stuff.
Well, good for you, Patsy. Yes, there's something funny about this.
Definitely, Nick. Well, this panchromatic makeup wasn't developed until Technicolor came in. They didn't use this type of makeup back in the days when this studio was in use. Somebody must have been here since. And none of the actors are making up way over here.
Right, Patsy. I'll make a detective out of you yet. Now let's see if we can find anything else.
Oh, I'm getting creeps, Nick. I don't like it here.
Patsy, I think we're getting warm. This is one of the first real clues with... Hey. Recognize that?
Wait. Well, that must be the glass tank they used to take that swimming sequence in the voodoo movie.
Right you are. I wonder why they left it half full of water this way.
When they finished taking that scene, they probably just walked off and left it here.
Maybe.
Don't forget they closed this place in a hurry. What are you doing?
Patsy, this water is fresh.
What?
It'd be stale if it had been here 10 years. Stale and smelly.
Hey, I'm beginning to think maybe Stone's right and there is a hex on this place.
Too bad that voodoo picture wasn't in Technicolor. Those colored stones at the bottom of the tank would have showed up beautifully.
They are beautiful, aren't they?
Yes, you bet they... Hey, Patsy.
What?
Look here. Those aren't just colored stones. They're... Douse your lights, Patsy, quick. We've got callers. Duck back here behind this crate.
Throwing us all in the clink this morning with this snooping.
Why the boss always swipes such important rocks? Why didn't he settle for just a small price?
The men we're
big
after.
Time, that's why. He's got enough dough to pay all the bills until that stuff cools off. And when it's safe to handle, he'll smuggle it out of the country and sell it for plenty.
What's he leave it lying around here for? Hidden in the old equipment.
And now we know why
Who would
Boyd
have ever
was
thought that
killed.
anybody'd ever come back here?
Gosh, when that punk went into that storehouse, I bet he saw the works.
He did. The boss spotted him going in and just had time enough to get that knife and come back and nail him. And the kid was dashing back to Stone to spill the beans.
Gee, the boss is sure lucky.
He ain't lucky. He's smart. He had Lippy planted up on that catwalk just in case somebody got an idea to go into that electrician's storeroom. And somebody did. That takes brains to know that.
Well, we better get going, huh, Jake?
Yeah, you start draining the tank so we can get the rocks. I'll get the makeup stuff.
Why is he moving everything out now?
He figures it'll cooled off by now, and with the stuff he's going to lift from that Doré dame this afternoon...
Nick, I'm going to
he figures he'll
sneeze.
have
Hold it, Patsy.
Who's that?
Hey, look. Over there, Jake. 2 guys. Only come here.
Run for it.
Come here.
Run where? Let go of me.
Let her go, you lousy rat.
Get away.
Let her go. You hear me? Let her go. Hey, I'll handle it.
Get your hands off her.
I gotta get rough. Guess that'll hold him. Gosh, it took 3 of us to knock him cold. He a fighter or something?
Hey, I know him. It's Nick Carter, the Dick.
Nick Carter? Hey, and a good-looking doll.
Well, it's a good thing you called me in time. Now, what are we going to do with them now that we got them, huh? We can't just leave them lying around. Somebody's bound to notice them. Hey, the fish tank. Yeah, that's right. We'll throw them in there. Then when they're good and drowned, we'll drain the tank and get them and the other stuff out at the same time.
Good idea, Lippy.
Okay.
Here, Pete. You lift the lid. You shove the girl in, Lippy.
All right.
Jake and I'll dump that Carter guy in.
It'll be a real pleasure to do something like this to a copper.
Yeah. Come on.
Hey, go ahead. Put Carter in first.
Okay, here he goes. Happy swimming, Carter!
Yeah. Now dump the dame in, Jake.
In you go, lady.
That's okay. Hey, listen, guys. Suppose they get out.
We'll see that they don't get out. Stokey.
Huh?
Put the lid down on the tank.
Okay, Jake.
And I'll put this padlock on, and they're safe as if they was in jail.
That's good work. Hey, look, boys, they're coming too.
So what? Who cares now?
Yeah, who cares? Lippy, turn on the water.
Okay. Here she comes, Jake.
Get those 2 baby spots set up there, will you?
This what you want?
That's better. Now, open number 2 a little more.
Okay.
This is the take. Ready?
Ready.
All set. Lights. Camera. All right. Action, Miss Dory.
It was when I first opened your letter that I knew at last. As I opened the
No, Lula, darling. Mean what you say. Remember, your lover has returned. Now, this is your big moment. Now, relax. Take it easy. Now, come on. Once more. All right, action. Come on.
It was when I first opened your letter that I knew at last. As I opened the envelope, even before I read the words that you've written there, I realized that what I'd hoped for so long had at last...
Hey, what's the matter with those lights? Why aren't they...
Turn on those lights. I'm in charge here. There'll be no confusion.
Quiet, everybody. Quiet.
The masked man.
Who are you to tell me I'm the director on this room? This is a holdup.
Look here, you. You can't pull a holdup.
Quiet, I said. Quiet if you don't want a bullet in your teeth. Quiet. The man's mad. That's better. Now, nobody will get hurt if you just keep quiet and do as you're told. Turn on that spotlight.
Okay, boss.
That's it. Now, all of you, line up against the wall there. Come on, get moving. I don't want to shoot, but I will if you make me. And shut up.
You can't tell me to shut up.
That order includes you too, Riley.
Right.
Now, don't forget that although you can't see me with this spotlight shining in your eyes, I can see you very clearly. Now, each one of you in turn will step forward and put your valuables on that table in center stage. And don't try to hold out on me or it'll be bad for you. All right. We'll start with the star performer, Miss Lulu Doré. Please, Miss Doré, if you think I can't see you trying to hide behind the drapes over there, you're wrong. You're in this, too. Your jewels, please.
No, not my emeralds. Surely you won't...
Surely I will. It's those emeralds I'm particularly interested in. You don't think I care for the little wristwatches and pocketbooks I'm going to get from the rest of these people, do you?
But you can't mean to take my
One
emeralds.
more word out of you and I'll come after them myself. And if I do it...
Stand where you are, Tyson. I've got you covered. Nick Carter. Nick! Crazy, is that you? Come and get me, Carter.
Watch him, Riley, if you can. Turn the lights on, Patsy.
Right there. Here they are.
There he goes, Nick. I I missed him, darn it. Did you see where he went, Nick?
There he goes, Mr. Carter, climbing up the catwalk. Tyson, come down from there or I'll shoot.
You haven't got a gun, Nick Carter. Yours is too wet to shoot after your little swim. But I've got my gun. Here.
You missed me, Tyson, but I won't miss you. You may not know it, but my guns are absolutely waterproof.
Oh! Nice work, Coffin. You shot the gun right out of his hand.
And now your gun's gone, Tyson. Come on down.
Yeah? Come up here and get me. You haven't caught me yet. So long.
Oh, look at him run. He should make a misstep or lose his balance up there. He'd fall off and get hurt.
Tyson! Tyson, stop! Stop! Look out, you don't slip there!
Nick! He lost his balance!
Watch out, Tyson!
You say you want us to drop you at headquarters, Riley?
If you will, Nick.
Okay. Your men got the rest of Tyson's gang, all right?
They did. They're coming right behind us.
Was Tyson badly hurt from his fall?
No, not much. Just a broken ankle. He'll be all right. All right, that is, until he gets to the electric chair.
Oh, Nick, when I think of how close we came to drowning, I'm scared all over again.
Hey, how did you say you got out of that tank, Nick?
Believe it or not, Lieutenant, he cut a piece of that heavy glass with a diamond in his ring.
Well, what do you know? But look, if it was as easy as all that, well, what took you so long doing it, Nick?
I had to wait until the thugs got out of the room. Then I just cut a nice little circle out of the glass right beside where the padlock was, reached out, and picked the lock. All very simple.
Simple for you, maybe, not for me. And you say you found the jewels Tyson had stolen in the bottom of the tank, eh?
Yes, Riley. What Patsy and I thought were pretty colored stones turned out to be all the jewels Tyson had stolen during the last 10 years, all unmounted and dumped in with the pebbles in the tank.
But what made you first suspect Tyson, Nick?
Well, Patsy, it was his voice first. Remember I told you after we saw him in the movie that I knew I'd heard his voice somewhere very recently?
Oh, so that's why that voice sounded so familiar.
Can you imagine that? A movie star turned crook.
Then there was the fact that Tyson had faded so completely out of sight after his accident. That looked fishy to me. No great star would have let his career be ruined without bringing a suit of some kind. Unless he had some plans of his own.
And from what I learned from Scubby, we realized he never had brought suit.
Yes, and a suit like that would have made all the tabloids.
But how did you know Tyson and the watchman were the same?
I didn't, Patsy. Until you found that makeup kit. That panchromatic makeup is often used to cover scars. And then I remembered the scarred gateman. It fitted. So did his voice, and the fact that he had the only remaining set of keys to the lot. And, of course, he had all the opportunity in the world.
But I bet you didn't realize that the murders were tied up with the robberies. Not until we heard those crooks talking, I mean.
Well, the makeup kit told me that, too. Remember, Patsy, how you always claimed that all those robberies were done by individuals, not a gang?
Yes, but I still don't see
Well, Tyson was a consummate actor, and he had complete knowledge of makeup. He disguised himself as a different character, I imagine, for each robbery. Evidently, he played his role expertly, since he succeeded in giving the impression that different people were committing the various thefts.
But say, if that makeup was so good, why couldn't he have gone back to the movies instead of turning thief?
Well, Riley, it was good enough for dim lights, but not for the sharp eyes of the camera.
Oh, I see.
Poor fellow. What an end for a great star.
Yes. The explosion probably injured his mind, too.
One more thing, Nick. How did he get to be caretaker?
Oh, I asked Stone that. He said he felt sorry for the man and had given him the job out of kindness.
Oh?
Well, that's all over now.
Except that from now on I'm allergic to water anywhere, except in drinking glasses.
This is another strange experience of Nick Carter, Master Detective, called The Glass Coffin, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Voodoo Curse. Another of the curious adventures of Nick Carter, which are brought to you regularly at the same time by WOR Mutual. And now, Nick, will you tell us something about your story for next week?
Well, next week we leave this part of the country and are going out west to the mining districts of Montana.
Did you go too, Patsy?
Yes, I went along. But Nick and Scubby did most of the work and had most of the excitement. I just stayed in the hotel and waited.
Yes, that was the first case that Scubby and I really worked out together.
And before they were through with it, Scubby very nearly went crazy, literally. And Nick just missed being buried alive.
You see, it started out to be a case of robbery. But it ended up with at least 2 murders and more excitement than I've had in a long time.
Well, I hope it's as good as it sounds.
It's better. But more of that next week. So long.
So long, folks. We'll be seeing you.
And so long to you, Nick and Patsy. In the strange adventure you've just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate. The story was written for Nick Carter by Nancy and Gene Webb. Original music was played by Lew White. The entire production was under the direction of Jock McGregor. Next week at the same time, another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
The Flying Duck Murders, or Nick Carter and the Mysterious Gold Thieves.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated.
My name is Humphrey Davis. I've been playing the part of Lieutenant Riley in tonight's show. Just now, though, I'm speaking as myself. Actors, you know, appear at many war bond rallies. We like to know that what we can do may help in selling more bonds. But after all, selling more war bonds is everyone's business. You can talk to your friends about the Third War Loan Campaign just as any speaker might. You know the reasons why we must buy extra bonds. You know how purchases of extra war bonds back the attack. You know that they're a great investment. And you know that giving up something you were planning to buy for yourself and buying war bonds instead isn't really any sacrifice. And as you think of these things, how about doing more in this Third War Loan yourself? Because you can't do too much for the men who are fighting for us every minute somewhere in the world.
The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Monday evening at 9:30 Eastern Wartime. This is Mutual.
This I believe. To this observer, one of the marvels of our age is the striking diversity it produces in the characters of men. Albert J. Nesbitt is an industrialist, president of the John J. Nesbitt Company, which makes heating units and ventilators. His favorite sport is fox hunting, riding to hounds. At the same time, he is president of the Philadelphia YMCA and furiously active in civic affairs ranging from the community chest to the Council of Churches. Against that background, Albert J. Nesbitt reveals his beliefs.
One day, about 15 years ago, I suddenly came face to face with myself and realized there was something quite empty about my life. My friends and associates perhaps didn't see it. By the generally accepted standards, I was successful. I was head of a prosperous manufacturing concern, and I led what is usually referred to as an active life, both socially and in business. But it didn't seem to me to be adding up to anything. I was going around in circles. I worked hard, played hard, and pretty soon I discovered that I was hitting the high balls harder than I needed. I wasn't a candidate for Alcoholics Anonymous, but to be honest with myself, I had to admit I was drinking more than was good for me. It may have been out of sheer boredom. I began to wonder what to do. It occurred to me that I might have gotten myself too tightly wrapped up in my job to the sacrifice of the basic but non-materialistic values of life. It struck me abruptly that I was being quite selfish, that my major interest in people was in what they meant to me, what they represented as business contacts or employees, not what I might mean to them. I remembered that as my mother sent me to Sunday school as a boy and encouraged me to sing in the church choir, she used to tell me that the value of what she called a good Christian background was in having something to tie to. I put in a little thought, recalling the Golden Rule and some of the other first principles of Christianity. I began to get interested in YMCA work. It happened that just at this time we were having some bitter fights with the union at our plant. Then one day it occurred to me, what really is their point of view and why? I began to see a basis for their suspicions, their often chip-on-the-shoulder point of view, and I determined to do something about it. We endeavored to literally apply, Christian principles to our dealings with employees, to practice, for example, something of the Golden Rule. The men's response, once they were convinced we were sincere, was remarkable. The effort has paid for its pains, and I don't mean in dollars. I mean in dividends of human dignity, of a man's pride in his job and in the company, knowing that he is no longer just a cog, but a living personal part of it, and that it doesn't matter whether he belongs to a certain church or whether the pigmentation of his skin is light or dark. But I can speak with most authority on how this change of attitude affected me and my personal outlook on life. Perhaps again many of my friends did not notice the difference, but I noticed it. That feeling of emptiness into which I was pouring cocktails out of boredom was filling up instead with a purpose, to live a full life with an awareness and appreciation of other people. I do not pretend for a second that I have suddenly become a paragon. My faults are still legend, and I know them. But it seems to me better to have a little religion and practice it than think piously and do nothing about it. I feel better adjusted, more mature than I have ever felt in my life before. I have no fear. I say this not boastfully, but in all humility. The actual application of Christian principles has changed my life.
That was Albert J. Nesbitt of Philadelphia, at once a hard-headed businessman and warm-hearted human, a husband and a father who knows the importance of a full life and who has learned much about how to live it.
Night Beat.
Lucky Stone is the name. I'm the guy that writes that column that's buried somewhere in the middle of your Examiner, called Night Beat. They call me Lucky for the same reason they call a fat man slim. Because the best you can hope for on a job like this is chronic bronchitis, rings under your eyes, and the fact that you're awake when regular folk are asleep. Sometimes the worst happens to you. A story grabs your heart and shakes it until it hollers uncle. A corpse in the dark alley is the business at hand. In the big city, a dead man is a pretty impersonal thing. But this one I had a special interest in, because they wanted me to identify it.
Night Beat stars Frank Lovejoy as Lucky Stone.
It was early morning when I walked into the county morgue. There was that same familiar ammonia smell stinging my nostrils, that gleaming tile, that cold, empty feeling you get. The way the morgue always swipes across your face like the tail end of a nightmare. The police lieutenant was waiting for me. He nodded for the attendant to pull back the white sheet. Well? Yes, that's him. That's Ted Carter.
Okay, that does it. We had to get positive identification. You were the only one we could reach. Sorry I had to get you out of bed.
Oh, that's all right.
Guess that winds it up. Be seeing you. Thanks for the trouble.
Oh, wait a minute.
Huh?
What do you mean, be seeing you and thanks? What happens now? We go back and catch up on our sleep?
I know you had a friendly interest in the kid, Lucky, but he got it the way all hoodlums eventually get it.
He was going straight and you know it.
You're getting sore about it.
Who did it? Who killed him?
Lucky, go into any book joint, any gin mill, look in any back alley, any flop house. Whoever you find there could have done it. Take your pick.
Take my pick?
Nobody talks. Nobody remembers anything. In my book, it's murder by person to persons unknown.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Maybe for you it's that way, but not for me, Lieutenant. I've known that guy since we were kids. I was lucky and he wasn't. I talked him into going straight and now he's dead for it.
It's crazy to think that way, Lucky.
Okay, it's crazy. Somebody didn't like the idea of his going straight. And if I don't find out who it is, I'm going to start having some lousy dreams, Lieutenant. And I'm a guy that likes to sleep sound. I walked away from the lieutenant like he had the smallpox and I'd never been vaccinated. When I hit the street, it was raining. The sky was gray and there was a cold chill in the air. I waited for a cab thinking that the first time I hated this city, I hated it because somewhere in that rain was Ted's killer. What was he doing now? Sleeping? Having his morning coffee? Waiting for the first editions to come out and see how well he'd done? You'd have to look hard to find anything about Ted. Page 6, ex-hoodlum found shot, period. When you're an ex-anything, that's a nice way of saying you're dead, brother, lie down. When a cab showed up, I went over to see Ted's girl, Joan. As soon as she opened the door, I knew she'd found out. Her face looked pinched and pale, and her eyes were red like she'd squeezed out the last tear.
Lucky, why did it have to happen like that?
I'm sorry, Joan. You didn't go down to...
No. No, I couldn't.
I understand. Who do you think did it?
I don't know. He told me he was all through with the racket.
Well, what was he doing? Who'd he been mixed up with?
He never told me anything. I never asked him. I believed him when he told me he was going straight.
I'm going to find out who killed him, Joan.
Look, Lucky, you and Ted lived in different worlds. He wouldn't want you to get hurt because of him. This is for the police, Lucky.
I'm sorry, the police aren't interested.
Well, then why should you...
Because he followed my advice, and now he's dead. Now, who was the last guy he worked for, Joan? Who got sore when Ted decided to go straight?
I don't know, Lucky. I don't know.
Joan didn't know. I went around to the old haunts, his former friends. They didn't know. The district attorney didn't know. The cops didn't know. Ted had kicked around in this city among all these people for 28 years. And now, suddenly, it was like he'd never lived at all. Then I remembered a little item from his old life. A little item with baby blue eyes and red hair. Laverne Clare. He'd gone with her before he met Joan, and even after he'd met Joan. I know he'd kept sneaking back to Laverne like a drunk trying to decide whether to spend his last coin calling Alcoholics Anonymous or buying a glass of Muscatel. I went looking for Laverne. She had the number 4 spot in one of those 5 times a day shows on the untidy side of town. When I got there, I had to wait until the fleshy part of the entertainment was over, and then I went to her dressing room. Now, Ted spent a lot of time telling me how crazy he was about you, Laverne.
Yeah? He was a sweet guy. Ted was all right.
He liked to tell me about the way you looked when you danced.
Yeah, sure. Where's my drink? That bottle there. Pour me, will you?
Oh, sure. Say when.
I'll be when.
Here you are.
Thanks.
Who do you think killed him, Laverne?
Look, Mr. Stone. You're a nice guy. So why don't you go back to your office and write your column about pretty things, Mr. Stone. Nice, harmless things. You don't want to get mixed up with Bailey or with that guy Jerry.
Bailey?
I didn't say Bailey.
Oh, so it's Bailey. The character that parlays pinballs into diamond stick pins. Number rackets, Bailey. So Ted knew something in here?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. Get out of here. Right away. You understand?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm beginning to understand. So I had myself a lead, George Bailey. Only it was like going fishing with the hope that you'll be lucky enough to catch a trout, and all of a sudden, look who's eating your worm. Moby Dick, the whale. Before I told anyone else, I thought I'd go back and see Joan. I think I know who killed him, Joan.
You do?
I'm not positive, but it's a beginning.
Who?
George Bailey. Know him?
Bailey. Who told you it was Bailey?
You're getting pale, Joan, so you think it was Bailey, too.
Listen, Lucky, stay away from Bailey. He's trouble.
Yeah? I'll let you know exactly how much trouble. I'll see you later.
Lucky. It's dangerous. Please be careful.
The lieutenant told me anyone could have killed Ted. He invited me to take my pick. I'm going over and see that cop. I've taken my pick. George Bailey.
Lucky, you surprised me. You really expect me to arrest George Bailey? On what charge?
He's mixed up with Ted's killing. You know it, and I know it.
Outside of this Laverne girl, I got nothing to go on. You have one shred of evidence pointing to Bailey?
Arrest him on suspicion. Sweat it out of him.
Now, wouldn't I look fine against Bailey's high-powered shyster lawyers, trying to make an arrest stick because some drunken dame shot her mouth off? Even then, she'd deny it if I put her up on the witness stand.
So you don't want to touch Bailey?
Look, get me one witness who saw them together. Find me one scrap of evidence, even circumstantial evidence. I'll arrest Bailey in a minute. You won't find anything. I know. I've tried. All you'll find is frightened people and blank walls. Bailey's had this town by the throat for 10 years. No, I'm sorry, Lucky. I can't help you.
But I couldn't stop. I was like a snowball somebody started rolling down a hill. I didn't know where I was going or what would happen when I got there, but I had to keep rolling. They've got a name for that. It's called a guilt complex, and I had it in Technicolor. Ted was dead because he'd believed in me. I couldn't forget that any more than I could forget my name. Then I remembered my column. Sure, why not? The little poems to the first robin, the jokes about the smog, the stories of the happy winos that have to move over. I was going to work on Bailey in the only way I knew, and keep my fingers crossed that something would happen. What big-shot racketeer sends for his aspirin every time someone mentions the back alley murder of Ted Carter? When is the district attorney going to get wise and change the address of Mr. B from a downtown penthouse to an upstate death house?
Listen to this, boss.
Huh?
Stone's latest little offering. When are the police going to bring in the Carter killer?
Let me see it. If they don't know who it is, I'll give them a hint. Think of Daly and reach for the letter B.
How long's he going to get away with that?
Hand me the phone.
Sure.
Hello?
I want Lucky Stone.
You got him.
I'll say it only once, Mr. Stone. I don't like this kind of publicity.
Oh, you must be Bailey.
I'm asking you to lay off.
Real polite like, huh?
That's right. Real polite. What's the good word, Mr. Stone?
The good word? I got a whole sack full. You get a copy of the Examiner first thing tomorrow, and you'll see him right under my byline.
Now, listen, Stone.
It'll be something like this. One of the local gendarmes going to knock on Mr. Bailey's door with a warrant for his arrest. Okay, he doesn't want a preview, so let him pay 7 cents. Well, that was more like it. So Bailey was beginning to squirm. Well, on him it looked just fine. I worked late on the column that night, giving Bailey enough needles to sew a circus tent. I was feeling pretty good. That guilt complex about Ted Carter wasn't hurting quite so much. I unlocked my door and stepped inside. I didn't have to shut the door. It was shut for me.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Stone.
Well, as long as you're here, make yourself at home.
You're a wisecracker, ain't you? Like your friend, Ted Carter.
What do you know about Ted Carter?
Oh, he was a regular card.
Okay, what do you want?
My boss sent me over to take a look at you.
Your boss?
Mr. Bailey.
And you're little boy Blue, huh?
Yeah, a wisecracker, all right.
Well, tell that boss of yours I'll be dropping around to see him for an interview.
Uh-uh.
Huh?
He don't want it that way. He sent me to see you instead.
Yeah?
He don't like people who don't pay attention to his telephone messages. He thinks you're very nasty, yapping all the time that he had something to do with the Ted Carter killing.
So?
So, like I said, Mr. Bailey don't like it.
Okay, Buster, now get out of here.
Not right now. Mr. Bailey wants me to teach you a lesson. For this blackjack. Mr. Bailey don't like smart guys. Wisecracker.
Night Beat stars Frank Lovejoy as Lucky Stone.
woke up with a nice view of my ceiling. Sign outside the window flashed off and on. And every time it flashed on, it was like that punk of Bailey's with his blackjack testing his strength on my skull and doing fine. After a while, I crawled to my knees and worked my way over to the wall. And I climbed up the side of the dresser until I reached the phone.
Operator?
Operator, get me the police... No, never mind. Skip it. All of a sudden, I didn't want the police in on this. I wanted this to be a private party. All of a sudden, I wanted to feel a gun in my hands. I washed up, changed clothes, and found a cab. It was 11:15 when I reached Joan's apartment. I had to knock a long time before she came to the door. She was rubbing the sleep out of her eyes.
Lucky? Oh, come on in.
Thanks, honey.
What happened to you?
Surprise party by the same people who surprised Ted.
Wait, I'll get some bandages.
No, that's not why I came.
No?
When Ted quit the rackets, what did he do with his gun?
He asked me to keep it. He said then I'd know he was on the up and up. Why?
I want Ted's gun.
What are you going to do with it?
Never mind. Just get me the gun.
No, Lucky. You'll only get...
The gun.
It's in the bottom drawer of the dresser. I'll get it. I think you're crazy. Here.
Thank you.
Where are you going?
Wentworth Towers. Bailey has an office there.
Lucky you are crazy. You're walking right into a trap. They'll kill you like they killed Ted.
Well, if I don't go, Jerry will be coming around again. You see, the way it's no good. At least this way I say when. Wish me luck.
Luck? Oh, you fool, you poor fool. You'll end up like Ted with 5 bullet holes in your back.
When I got to the Wentworth Towers, it was almost midnight. The streets were deserted. The only sounds were distant traffic. The front door was locked, and the only light in the lobby came from the night elevator. An old man sat inside the elevator dozing. I pounded on the window. He reluctantly got to his feet and started walking toward me. He snapped the lock and pushed open the front door.
Nobody in this building now? All the offices are closed.
Not all of them, Pop. I have an appointment with Mr. Bailey.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take you in. 34th floor. Come on.
As the elevator rose, I dipped my hand in my coat pocket. The cold touch of the gun had the comforting sensation of a boy holding his father's hand. The elevator came to a stop on the 34th floor. The doors opened, and little boy Blue stepped out of the darkness. He had a gun, too, only his was in his fist.
Take us downstairs, Pop.
Sure thing, Jerry.
I want to see Bailey.
We know, but Bailey don't want to see you. And keep your hands out of your pockets. Let me see what you got there. A gun. Pretty nice. Thanks.
Don't mention it. I'm always handing out souvenirs.
You go out first, Pop, and open the street door.
All right, Jerry, I'll get it open for you.
Is everything all right, Pop? Is it all clear?
Why don't you go out there and see? Here, I'll help you.
Hey, what?
I shoved the kid out. I pushed the lever that slammed the door shut and started the elevator going up. I could see little lights blink on the instrument panel as I passed each floor. Bailey was on the 34th floor, and I was getting closer. Closer. All of a sudden, the elevator stopped. I was stuck between the 11th and 12th floors. I didn't have to be a mastermind to figure out what had happened. Little boy Blue and the old man had gone to the basement and switched off the power on my elevator. They'd bring up one of the other elevators and come after me. I began to feel like an animal trapped in a cage. Then I noticed the little door on top of the elevator. I climbed up on the old man's stool, I pushed the door upward and grabbed the sides of the opening. And I started pulling myself out. And now I was standing on top of the elevator, hanging onto a greasy cable that ran down from the roof of the building. Far below, I heard the other elevator with Jerry and the old man start climbing. I leaned forward to reach the door of the 12th floor. I couldn't reach it. The other elevator was coming up faster. As I lunged for it again, their elevator stopped at the 11th floor. I was trapped good. But as long as I was between floors, they couldn't get to me either. Little boy Blue figured it that way, too.
Well, how are we going to get his elevator down here so we can get at him?
You wait here. I'll go down to the basement and get him down to the 11th with the emergency train.
All right, but hurry.
It was turning into a big evening. In a couple of minutes, I could feel my elevator inching down toward the 11th floor and me going right along with it, perched on the roof. Then I heard that shattering of glass. That meant the kid was using his gun butt to break through the little glass window in my elevator door so that he could reach in and spring it open. Ah, nice figuring. And now if I could figure a way to stay alive for the next 5 minutes, Mr. Einstein could move over.
How can he get out of here?
Curtain. Jerry, look at there. The trap door is open. He's at top of the elevator.
Yeah? Now, that ain't playing fair. How many floors in this building, Pop?
35.
I've always wanted to run an elevator. Let's see how fast we can get to the roof. Shut up. Hold on to your hat, Stone.
We were rising a mile a minute. All I could do was sprawl down and watch the roof of that building coming at me. Faster and faster. The top pulley singing around and around, louder and louder. The roof was rushing to meet me like we were lovers from way back. Faster and faster, almost to the top. Almost.
This, I believe. Albert R. Science of New Haven, Connecticut, is a veteran of World War II. He came back from service in Europe with a new sense of his responsibilities as an American, which he puts into practice by energetic participation in civic affairs. He is particularly active in the American Veterans Committee. This is Al Science's creed.
As a young boy, I was an active sports enthusiast. Winning a game was a very important thing to me. At the same time, I learned that each game had rules which had to be obeyed. My elders often pointed out that this was good training for life. Rules have to be observed in life, too, they said. It took me many years and much soul-searching to realize that there was something more important than winning a ball game, and many more years to learn that the rules of this game of life are sometimes not clear. As I grew older, I began to see that these rules are not necessarily spelled out on paper. They are conceptions of what is in harmony with that whispering of the conscience which we humans are so often likely to drown out by either feverish activity or loud acclaim. I have come to believe very deeply that if I am to be at peace with myself, I must listen to this still, small voice. Not to do so means that I must try to convince myself of something which is simply not true, namely, that I am somehow infallible, not fallible like other men, and that unaided I can deal with all the forces with which one has to cope during his lifetime. To be very truthful, it is hard to admit that this is what I believe. Every time I do a thing which does not seem clearly to advance my personal fortune, there is a kind of conditioned urge to apologize and explain that I do really have a selfish motive. Most completely overlooked is the fact that doing what I believe to be right is a source of deep satisfaction to me personally, regardless of whether anyone else knows about it or not. After all, The person with whom I spend all my time is myself. But I've heard it said so often, that is all well and good, but where does it get you? Sure, everybody likes and respects you, but where does it get you? After all, you have to be practical. This is a practical world, which judges people by certain standards. The job he holds, where he lives, who his friends are, how much money he has. Well, I have to confess that these are pretty powerful arguments, because I happen to have no particular aversion to these things. And to a degree, I have had them, and I know them to be worthwhile, just as I got a real satisfaction out of winning ball games. But I know also that how I get them is very important to me. For along with getting them, I must, to enjoy them, feel that no one can say that I haven't earned them, or that the getting them has denied them to others. It might be nice for a while to forget about what is right and just concentrate on reaching certain goals. The trouble is that these goals seem somehow to be tied up with the way we reach them. I remember that as a boy I used to think that if I got a certain toy or would be able to go somewhere that seemed attractive, my happiness would be beyond measure. When I had got these things, I realized that they were not nearly as desirable as I had been in my imagination. And so I came to realize that the things of real importance are intangibles, and remembering that, I can go on from day to day, enjoying whatever luxuries come my way in the course of doing what I believe to be right. And what I believe to be right is what I can tell myself is right when no one else is around.
That was Albert R. Science, a responsible young veteran of World War II who lives in New Haven, Connecticut, where he is employed by the Bridgeport-Lycoming Division of the Avco Manufacturing Corporation.
Here's Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and the big neon signs light up the dark office that overlooks Broadway on the corner of 53rd Street. Behind the second-hand mahogany desk, relaxing in a swivel chair, is the leading figure of the Diamond Detective Agency, combination stockholder, office boy, and clue chaser. He is Richard Diamond, and his mind is on a lovely redhead named Helen Asher, as she sits on a couch talking about things he likes to hear. At this moment, however, another scene is taking place in the wealthy district of Long Island. A long black convertible is just pulling up to an old English mansion, and a curvaceous blonde steps from the car. She is met at the door by her brother.
Well, good evening, my dear sister. You're looking simply ravishing.
How would you know the difference?
Oh, drop dead.
You disgusting excuse for a man. Why don't you sober up for 5 minutes and take a look at yourself?
I did once. Oh, by the way, our dear stepfather would like to see you in the study.
Tell him to go...
I already did. Now it's your turn.
I don't want to. Now get out of my way, Chris.
Suit yourself. But Murray Lang's in there with him.
Murray?
Did I start your heart going picky-pack?
Oh, shut up.
You better go in and protect your money, darling. Hi, Tailbird.
I don't care what your plans are. They concern my daughter, and that's enough for me to put a stop to them.
You're not going to put a stop to anything.
You can't intimidate me, Lang. You're just a cheap, no-good gangster, and your methods are too well known to frighten me. Come in!
Oh, hello, Liz.
Hello, Murray.
I'm glad you're here, Elizabeth. Mr. Lang and I were just discussing your future.
I'm surprised you put up with us this long, Murray. Come on, let's leave my dear stepfather until he simmers down.
Elizabeth, I want to talk to you.
Well, I don't want to talk to you. Let's go, Murray.
Listen to what he has to say. Maybe you'll get a laugh out of it.
Well, what is it?
I've just been talking with Lang about your intention to marry him. I have advised him that if such a thing were to take place, it would result in the most serious of consequences.
Is that all?
No, that is not all. When you got into your trouble with the police, my dear stepdaughter, you were paroled in my custody. If I should report to the board that you had violated the terms of your probation, you would most certainly go to prison.
Why, you... What's the matter? Aren't you satisfied with the salary you collect for taking care of Mother's estate?
How dare you, you little snake!
Sit down. You look bigger behind a desk.
Well, just yell and scream all you want to. After Monday, you better start looking for another source of income.
You know very well it's not the money. But your greedy boyfriend here would certainly like to get his hands on it.
Look, you, I don't give a hang if you are a midget.
I'm not going to stand here and listen to you.
Murray.
No, baby, I won't take it. I'll wring his scrawny little neck.
Go on, lad, go on. It would give me the greatest of pleasure to call the police and have you locked up.
I'll fix it so you won't have a head to call anyone with.
Murray, leave him alone. Can't you see that's what he wants?
Yes, well, Mr. Lang.
Come on, Liz, let's get some fresh air.
I want to say one more thing. Just remember, Father, my probation expires Monday. After that, you won't control any part of my income, so you better start getting packed.
And if I report you to the probation board in the morning?
I wouldn't. If you do that, you'll not only stop being my guardian, but you'll stop breathing.
Get out. Get out, both of you.
Murray.
Try to intimidate me. I'll make them both sorry. Detectives. Private detectives, yes. Here's one. Full-page ad must be doing very well. Richard Diamond, private detective. If you've got a case, share it with me. Richard Diamond. 7.
Yeah?
Mr. Diamond?
That's right.
I want to hire you for a few days.
Oh, you saw the ad. Well, it just so happens I'm available.
I can't tell you much over the phone. Too many extensions in the house.
But it's about my daughter. I'm afraid she's going to get herself into some serious trouble.
Well, how old is she?
20.
Tell her to wait a year.
My name is Chase, Ralph Chase. I live at 82 Maple Drive, Sands Point. Will you come out this evening?
$100 a day and dibs on the icebox.
I'll see you about 8. Goodbye, Mr. Diamond.
What was that all about, Rick?
Well, got a job, baby.
When do you start?
Oh, yes, you're right.
No, Rick. You can start it in the morning. You can't break another one tonight.
Now, come on, Helen, baby. A job's a job.
And a date's a date. I won't let you break this one.
Your car downstairs?
Yes, but I can drive myself home, please, Rick. You promised you wouldn't break another one.
Keys in it?
Yeah, look. I want to hire you to protect me for this evening. I've been receiving mysterious phone calls, and I'm in fear of my life.
Really?
You've got to take the job. Old friends come first.
I'll have to get home and shave before I start working.
You mean you'll take it?
After 12:30. Bye, baby.
You beast.
Oh, you must be getting tired from driving that big car around all day. Grab a cab, honey. It'll give you some rest. I'll take good care of your car.
What?
Want $1 for the cab?
Huh?
No. On second thought, you only live about 25 blocks. Walk will do you good.
Rick.
Deep breathing all the way up Fifth Avenue. Nothing like it. Bye, baby.
Oh!
On the way to the car, I thought about Helen. The most wonderful girl in the world. Money, looks. But she had one bad fault. She wanted to get married. I got into the big sedan and headed for my apartment. I'd been up late the night before with the blonde singer, and I was feeling tired. Funny how things change. My nights in college were just as busy, but at 1 o'clock the next afternoon, I was out playing football. I face facts pretty well, so when I got home, I took a nap. I slept until 7 and got up and dressed. I drove Helen's car out to Long Island, and at 8 o'clock sharp, I was ringing the doorbell of the Chase Mansion. It was a big house, all right. If they built another one like it, Long Island would sink.
Well, to someone at me chamber door. My name's Chris. Boo.
Blow your booze some other direction. Your breath would wither a lung.
My alcoholic exhalations are composed of the finest ingredients. You must have a weak stomach.
Look, if you'll just stagger out of the way, I'd like to see Mr. Chase.
Dead or alive?
What?
Nothing. I was just thinking out loud. Well, go right ahead. And after your talk with my stepfather, you can find me in the bar. You'll probably wind up like I am.
That's a sweet thought. Where can I find your stepfather?
Probably in the library, lying in my money.
I left him leaning against the front door, gagging on the fresh air. I wandered down a long hallway and a big sitting room, furnished with enough antiques to make the Metropolitan Museum give up in shame. There was something about the place, a heavy quietness, like a bar of gold in a dark room. The shot had come from up ahead, and I tried a couple of doors before I found the room.
Mr. Chase! Mr. Chase! In here!
Mr. Chase?
Yes. Come in and shut the door.
I looked over at Ralph Chase crouching behind a desk. He got up slowly, all 5 feet of him. And I tagged him for a guy who would give $1,000 for every inch you could put on his legs. He looked like he could afford to be a mile high. The tall French windows were open at the back of the room, and you could still smell burning cordite.
Someone tried to shoot me from the garden.
Yeah, I heard the shot.
You must be Diamond.
That's right. Don't you think you better shut the French doors and pull the drapes before someone takes another shot?
Yes, very good idea. You pull the sage diamond. You can start earning your money right now.
You're a little excited, but I'll start to work.
All right. Be careful, he might still be out there.
Well, I doubt it. I can't see anyone out here.
Oh, he just missed me. You can see where the bullet hit the wall. I jumped and hid behind the desk.
Didn't you hear him on the porch?
No, he must have stood in the soft grass that surrounds the garden.
That's a good 10 feet from the house. You're lucky he didn't move in closer. He probably wouldn't have missed. Got any idea who it was?
Of course, it was Murray Lang.
Murray Lang? The gambler?
Yes, do you know him?
Well, I used to be on the force. Set him up 6 years ago on a larceny rap.
Then you know what he's like. He was in the house this afternoon. We had an argument and he threatened me.
An argument with your daughter?
Yes, about my daughter. How'd you know?
Well, you told me she was getting herself into trouble. She couldn't have picked a better playmate than Lang to get there with.
Father, we heard a shot.
Not really.
Oh, let's go. He's not dead.
My stepchildren, Mr. Diamond.
Oh, well, lovely.
I'm quite alive, so you can both stop looking so unhappy.
Does it show?
Come on, sis. Let's find the guy who fired that shot. I want to give him a few pointers.
Where's Murray Lang, Miss Chase?
Yes, he's the man you want. I'm sure he
Don't be absurd. Murray left 3 hours ago. What are you, a cop?
Does it show?
You're wearing too much cologne. Come on, Chris.
Oh, she's nice.
That's Elizabeth. The boy's her brother, Chris.
I'd hate to draw straws.
I married their mother and raised those two brats after she died. The courts appointed me executor of the estate.
They don't like you handling their money, is that it?
Yes. Since they've been old enough to ask for 50 cents to go to a movie, they've condemned me for watching their interest.
You said you were worried about your stepdaughter. Tell me about it.
I'll make it brief. Hate long explanations. Elizabeth got into some trouble with the police. Hit and run. She had been drinking. The man died. Liz was sentenced to a year in Folsom. But I got her off on probation.
Oh, what do you want me to do? Drive around with her and spoil her aim?
Monday the probation expires. She says she is then going to marry this hoodlum, Murray Lang.
And you don't want that because you think he's after her money?
Exactly. When she marries, the will reads that I shall, as executor, turn over half of the estate to Elizabeth.
What about Christopher?
He looked irresponsible when he was born. His mother left instructions that he should not receive his share until he is 35. That's another 8 years.
Well, your stepdaughter's old enough to know what she's doing. I can't see how you can stop her.
That's what I want you to do.
And if I do, you'd be in a pretty good spot.
What do you mean, Mr. Diamond?
You continue as executor.
I can understand you thinking something like that, but believe me, as much as I dislike my stepchildren, I wish to keep them in line for their late mother's sake.
Oh. Well, Mr. Chase, I'll take a look around outside. Maybe I can come up with something that'll point out the would-be killer. If it was Lang, you can stop worrying about Elizabeth. Sing Sing doesn't boast a wedding chapel. I went out through the French doors and started looking around on the soft grass that bordered the garden. I had a fat hunch, so I stopped looking and started wandering. I was halfway through the rose bed when I spotted them. It was Elizabeth and the man. In the darkness, I couldn't make him out, but Murray Lang was my best guess. They went up a narrow path to one of those Chinese pagodas at the far end of the garden, and I stepped up close enough to give my ears a workout. It was Lang, all right.
I don't care what you think. I didn't take a shot at the old man.
Then who did? He's got a policeman in there now, and he's going to start trouble.
Let him. I'm clean. Maybe it was that lushed-up brother of yours.
Chris hates him, but he'd never try to kill him.
Well, then stop hounding me. Maybe you took a shot at the old boy.
Murray.
Well, you got a good reason. I'm tired trying to buck the whole Chase household. If you love me, let's take off tonight and get married. Tell the old man to go to the devil.
You can certainly wait till Monday.
Yeah, but he won't. He's going to cause some kind of trouble and get you tossed into Folsom. He's not going to give up all that money just because you're through with your probation. He probably cooked up that shooting just to get the cops here.
Murray, what's going to happen to us?
Oh, ask your stepfather. He's been doing your thinking for you.
I don't have to. We'll get married Monday.
Okay. I'm staying clear of this place till then.
But what if there's more trouble? I haven't got anyone to turn to.
You worry about it, baby. I got a police record that makes yours look like a merit badge.
I was too good a target in the moonlight, so I started back up the walk to the house. As I passed a hedge, I noticed a funny-looking plant that was shoving its way out of the foliage. I'm sorry I did that. It was the Johnny Jump-Up variety. Black. The guy on the other end of the sap gave it to me right over the eyes, and I went down like a crapshooter making a pass. I rolled over and watched the moon melt and run down in my eyes. Something warm and sticky spread over my face and turned the night red. Yeah, I was bleeding again. I guess I showed signs of recovering, so he started all over. This time he used his foot in my side. Oh, A couple more kicks in the ribs and in the right place, and he could have whipped up a fast course of Nola. I felt tired, so I rolled up in an old rose bush and went to sleep. When you finally start coming around, it's like swimming your way out of an acre of mud. If you've taken enough beatings before, you diagnose things in a hurry. The pain in your head is where you got sapped. The ache in your ribs is where he booted you. And the thought in your mind is, it's something about an eye for an eye, if you got one left. I sat up slowly and looked around. No one in sight. My watch said 10 o'clock. I'd been out for an hour, and I was feeling lonely until I started to get up. I made it to one knee and looked down at the best reason I could think of for staying home nights. It was Murray Lang, and you couldn't blame him for staring. He wasn't impolite, just dead. Something on the walk beside him gleamed in the moonlight. I took out my handkerchief and scooped it up. It was a little nickel-plated .32. You could still smell the fresh powder in the barrel. I put it in my pocket and stumbled back to the house. Chris opened the door.
Well, you shouldn't drink so much. I never get so loaded I look like that.
Well, try it sometime. It might be an improvement.
Boo.
I told you once before not to do that. Now tell me, where were you 10 minutes ago?
I was in the bar.
Who was with you?
Red and green midgets. Now let go of my collar.
Okay. Where's the phone?
In the hall. Hey, what's going on? Who beat you up?
Nobody. I always bleed like this on warm nights.
Huh?
Big pores.
Homicide, Sergeant Otis talking.
Who taught you how? Did you sit up nights with a parrot?
Oh, very funny. Only one guy could think up a lousy joke like that. What do you want, Diamond?
A picture of you. I'm going to show some doctors that mercy killing has its points. Now, let me speak to the lieutenant.
Comic.
Homicide, Lieutenant Levinson.
Hello, Walt. This is Diamond.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me get the bicarbonate.
What's the matter?
I get stomach trouble every time you call. Go ahead.
All right. I got a killing for you.
I know it. Why can't you be a good boy and stop finding corpses?
I'm out at Sands Point, 82 Maple Drive. I think I've got the murder weapon in my pocket.
Who's dead?
An old friend, Murray Lang, and you better step on it. There's a drunk staggering around the place, and he's liable to spot the body and put it in the cold shower to sober it up.
Oh, all right. We'll be right out. Hold the fort.
So Mr. Lang's dead.
You better stop sneaking up on people, Buster.
And you'd better stop telling me what to do in my own house, Mr. Diamond.
You sobered up pretty quick.
I heard what you said about finding the murder weapon. May I see it?
No. It stays in my pocket until Homicide gets here.
Whose gun is it?
It's a 40-pound broadsword. Now, stop trying to look like a Chicago muscle man, or I'll start slapping you.
There you are, Diamond. I've been looking for you. Great Scott, what happened to your face?
Someone was giving away hints.
Chris, did you have something to do with this?
Hardly. Mr. Diamond has a decided advantage over me. He has muscles. I'll be in the bar.
What's happened? Where's Elizabeth?
I don't know, but her boyfriend's got troubles. He can't explain the hole in his chest.
Lang? What do you mean?
He's out in the garden. Someone shot him.
Is he dead?
And if he's not, he's trying awful hard.
Well, then we'd better call the police.
That's been taken care of. What kind of a gun do you own, Mr. Chase?
You don't...
No, I don't. I just dig around till I come up with something. What kind of a gun do you own?
Why, a 45... Now, wait a minute, Diamond. If you've got any ideas about this murder, you'd better wait until the police get here.
Now, look, Chase, I've been insulted in your house, had the air let out of my ego by your beautiful stepdaughter, and beat up in your garden. That's a full night's work, and now I'm on my own time. Where can I find Elizabeth?
I don't know. She may be up in her room.
So where is it?
End of the hall, head of the stairs, first door.
Thanks.
It's beginning to rain. What about Lang's body?
Well, if he catches cold, call me. I went down the long hallway to the foot of a massive staircase. The only light was the one burning in the room I just left. I looked over my shoulder and saw Mr. Chase framed in its dim glow, watching me. In that moment, I thought who Chase reminded me of. A triangle hat, his hand in his vest, and Napoleon had a twin. I went up the stairs two at a time.
Yes?
Pardon me for barging in, but some guy in the garden just beat all the bashfulness out of me.
How dare you? You get out of my room.
You better put on something a little warmer, honey. That thing would start a hara-kiri epidemic in Boston.
What do you want?
Yeah. What did you do after Lang left you in the garden?
What?
big ears. I overheard everything you said.
I see someone pushed your face around. It's an improvement. Did Murray catch you eavesdropping?
Well, if he did, he won't have much time to gloat.
What do you mean? If you've done anything to Murray...
Aren't you getting ready for bed a little early?
I don't know what you want. I don't have to answer any of your ridiculous questions. Now, if you don't turn around and get out of here...
What's the matter, baby? Is the drawer empty? Lose something?
No.
Maybe this is it.
Where did you get that gun?
It was lying in the garden beside your boyfriend's body.
Beside...
That's it, lover. Now sit down and relax.
Is Murray dead?
Like Jimmy Fiddler's gossip column. Didn't you hear anything after Murray left you?
Oh, no. I was crying. I ran back to the house, came up here.
Is there another way back to the house besides the path that Murray took?
There's one that leads to those outside doors. I came right to my room. Please leave me alone.
This is your gun, isn't it?
Yes, but I didn't do it. I didn't. Murray and I were going to be married Monday.
Ballistics will probably show it's the one that did the job. You better tell me everything you know.
I don't know anything. I didn't shoot Murray. Someone stole my gun from the drawer. Oh, please find out who did it. If they hold me, I'll go to prison anyway. Please, Mr. Diamond, please.
It's going to be tough if this is the gun. I'm pretty sure it is. You could still smell the powder when I... The powder.
What's the matter, Mr. Diamond?
Huh? Oh, nothing. Look, you stay in your room. Maybe I can do you some good. I promise you'll stay here.
Sure. I'm not going anyplace.
And try and snap out of it. Sometimes you keep losing until there's nothing left to play with. It breaks the jinx. I went downstairs and started looking for Chase. As I passed the doors leading to the garden, I stopped cold. A flash of lightning turned the garden flat white. Someone was standing over what was left of Murray Lang. Well, like the view?
Oh, Diamond. I was just looking at the body.
I talked with your daughter. She says the gun that killed Lang was hers.
What?
Claims they had an argument, but won't admit she shot him.
Oh, no, I can't believe it. Certainly she had no reason. Unless...
Unless what?
Well, unless she found out Lang was just after her money.
Well, that's possible. Anyway, if she did do it, I still can't figure who worked me over.
Maybe it was Lang. You told me yourself he didn't like you.
Maybe it was Elizabeth.
Oh, no. It would have to be somebody very strong. She might have kicked you, but never could she have hit you hard enough to crack your head open like that.
Yeah. Tell me, when does Elizabeth come into her money?
Why, at the end of the probation. The court set it aside until she was cleared of all charges.
Who gets it if she goes to prison?
Well, I'm the sole executor of the estate, but she's not going to jail. She didn't do this thing. I'll get the best counsel in the country.
I'm sure you will. Tell me something, Chase. It's pretty obvious that my face got pushed around, but how did you know my ribs got the same treatment?
What?
It doesn't show. It just hurts.
Why, well, you told me. What are you getting at, Diamond?
You'd have to reach pretty high to sap me, but if you were mad enough, you could make it.
This is absurd. I'm going inside.
And when I get grouchy, it's better to listen. I'm liable to use you to make the flowers grow.
Go ahead, Mr. Diamond. I'm listening.
Well, everybody in this house has some sort of motive for killing. With Elizabeth, it could be the old story of a woman scorned. With your lushed-up stepson, he could want to put the blame on his sister so he'd get more than his share of the estate. And we certainly know you stand to profit if Elizabeth goes to prison, because you retain custody of the family fortune.
I'm getting wet, Mr. Diamond.
Everybody's story's weak, but only one of them doesn't stand up. You said earlier this evening someone tried to shoot you from outside your library.
Of course they did. You have the shot and saw the bullet hole.
That's right, I did. But you told me he was standing outside the room by a good 10 feet. Nothing to say, Chase?
You're trying to catch me up in something.
Oh, you are so right. Now, when I walked into that room, I could still smell burning cordite. To smell fresh gunpowder like that, the gun would have to have been fired outside the room. You staged it, so I'd think someone was trying to kill you.
Is that all, Mr. Diamond?
Outside of the slip you made about kicking me in the ribs. Now, let's go inside.
I don't think so, Diamond.
Oh, that the .45 you were telling me about?
Yes. Go ahead, make a try for it. I'm going to show you how it works.
You kill Lang with your stepdaughter's gun, and you're going to collect the money if she goes to prison. Oh, you're a slob.
My stepdaughter could easily kill 2 men tonight.
You're in a spot. You can't shoot me with that .45 and make it look like the same person killed Lang, too. So you've got to get the .32 in my pocket.
Give me Elizabeth's gun, Diamond.
You try and get it, Chase.
Why, you...
Rick, are you out there?
Better give it up, Chase. That's the law. He eats little men like you.
Yeah, Lieutenant.
Rick! Stay right there. Another killing won't matter if you try and stop me.
For Pete's sake, if you're out there, Rick, answer me. I'm getting soaked.
Just keep your mouth closed, Diamond. I'm getting out of here.
You'll never make a chase. They'll pick you up inside of an hour.
Not if you're too dead to tell them. Yes, that's it. If I kill you, I'll eat at least.
You should watch your step, Chase.
Keep the head down. Somebody's mad. Shut up, over this, and get out from under that bench. Rick!
Over here, Walt.
What's going on, Rick? Who's doing all the shooting?
Oh, we took turns. He was just going to kill me when he tripped over the body of his first victim. I used this .32 in my pocket, shot him twice.
He's dead, Lieutenant. Give me my baking soda, Otis. Here, you Lieutenant. Don't look so unhappy, Rick. He was going to kill you.
Oh, I'm not unhappy. I'm just sore that I didn't have time to take the gun out of my pocket. I ruined a darn good coat. The three of us went back in the house, and Otis took Christopher up to bed so he could sleep it off. Walt listened to the story as I told it to Elizabeth. She cried a little and thanked me with her eyes. Walt went downstairs to clean things up, and I sat by her bed until she went to sleep. She didn't even wake up when I kissed her goodbye. Oh, I guess it was better that way. I said goodbye to Walt and Otis and headed for 975 Park Avenue. I was late, and my face could use a mile of bandage. I hope Helen wouldn't mind.
Yes? Oh, my goodness.
Hello, Francis. Tell Miss Asher I brought a car back.
Oh, how bad a wreck was it, sir?
Give me a glass with a backbone, will you, Francis?
Yes, sir, right away, sir. Miss Asher's in the study.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Well, it's about... Oh, Rick, not again.
Mm-hmm.
Your poor little face.
Yeah, my poor little face.
Well, you just stretch out on the couch, and I'll get you a nice tall drink.
Francis is already on his way. Oh.
Feel better?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Got a pillow?
I'll hold your head up. How's this?
Mm-hmm.
Like some music to go with it?
Sure. Turn on the radio.
You comfortable?
Mm-hmm. How about you?
Uh-huh. That music sounds like San Francisco. Remember the top of the mark?
Yeah, fun too.
Mind if I turn off the light? The glow from the fire is enough.
You're cute.
Better?
Nuts. The snow is snowing, the wind is blowing, but I can weather the storm. What do I care how much it may storm? I've got my love to keep me warm.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember a worse December. Just watch those icicles pour. What do I care if icicles fall? I've got my love to keep me warm.
I like your singing, too.
Thanks. Off with my overcoat, off with my gloves. I need no overcoat. I'm burning with love. My heart's on fire. The flame grows higher. So I will weather the storm. Why do I care how much it may storm? I've got my love to keep me warm.
That was nice.
Hey, why did you turn the radio off?
This is nicer. Come here, Rick.
Oh, honey. Honey, you're reading my mind.
Here's your drink, Mr. Diamond. Oh, my goodness.
You have just heard the fourth of a new series, Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell. Helen was played by Virginia Gregg, Lieutenant Levinson by Ed Begley. Also in our cast were Wilms Herbert, Betty Moran, Jay Novello, Jack Edwards, and Tal Avery. Music was under the direction of David Baskerville. Now, this is Eddie King, inviting you to be with us again at the same time next week when we will again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective. This program has come to you from Hollywood. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.